Two screens, two different views. That's what we're all about. Welcome to Dual Screen Radio, where listening is good.
Hello, folks. This is Shane R. Monroe.
And this is Chris Angel.
Welcome to another edition of Dual Screen Radio, where listening is good. We have a giant show once again for you. It's just amazing how much we managed to talk about over 2 weeks, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, we got so much to talk about today, and unfortunately it's going to be a hard time trying to get this recorded in one setting. I don't know how we're going to do it.
Yeah, it's just so funny.
The time schedules are just killing us.
Yeah, this 3 hours thing is just dying. I can't wait till we get back to daylight
We've created a
or
monster.
Whatever, so that we're at least only 2 hours off of each other. That will give us an extra hour. That will be helpful. This episode, we've got some good stuff. We've got an editorial commentary on shoehorn gaming. You're going to find out what that's all about.
More catchphrase buzz
More
terms.
buzzing catchphrases. Yes.
Shoehorn gaming.
Shoehorn gaming. We've coined it, and now we're going to tell you what it means. Story time. Everyone seems to like it when I ramble on about some of these stories, and I've got a couple of really good ones to tell you this episode.
Story Corner with Shane.
Yeah, Story Corner. We have to come up with some DS name for that. Story time. I don't know. Anyway, we got
Digital Story, DS.
Digital Story. Hey, there you go. Story time, DS. We have two reviews for you this episode. Point Blank DS. We're going to tell you if it lives up to all the hype that we were hoping for. Also, the budget title Break 'em All, which is your Arkanoid-style kind of brick breaker. We have, of course, our regular coming attractions, what's out now and worth your money. Touch and Go, our regular news segment. We're going to add a new segment, too, called the Mail Sack. And I know that there's just people laughing all over the place now, and that was intended, folks. Everyone likes our man sacks. So
we were going through all these like fancy names, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, what about DSR man sack? It's simple, and I think at this point our audience will kind of get the kind of humor we're kind of imposing upon it. So
yeah, we're absolutely terrible. So we have anyway.
Yeah, mail sack's gonna be great, man. I mean, we're gonna be taking emails from people that have sent us emails. We're gonna answer the question, or at least relate to the listeners what kind of email we've received over the course of the month. We're going to choose one or two, that have really hit a spot with us.
Yeah, so this will encourage you to write really good emails.
Yeah.
So we're going to read one of your emails, one of our listener emails online, and we're going to update you as to what's going on the website, talk about some interesting affiliations we may have coming up, and a bunch of other stuff. We got so much crap to talk about. So that's kind of a summary on what we're going to do for you this episode of Dual Screen Radio. Very exciting, isn't it, Chris? The way that the DS has just completely exploded.
Oh, yes, especially over the course of the past, 8 months or so?
Unbelievable.
I think the big turning point was probably maybe around last July or August. Once Medios came out, and then, of course, Nintendogs came out, it just started, a deluge of games just started coming out and coming out and coming out, and now we're in the prime of this system's life, I think. I mean, this has just been its year.
Oh, yeah, and it's just going to get incredibly better. As many of you know who've been listening to the radio show here for a while, from E3, we know there's going to be at least 100 titles, 100 titles now. Between now and the end of 2006. I mean, we're halfway through 2006 now. You're talking 6 months of 100 games coming out.
Yeah, these are many of them are big time hits too. I mean, these aren't just like third party crap fests like the possibility of Elf Bowling 3 and 4, for instance. I mean, we're getting some good stuff. I was wondering who was going to invoke
Elf Bowling first in the show.
But we're getting some good stuff here, man. I mean, we're getting updates for Star Command, what am I saying? Star Fox Command.
Yes.
And we're getting Mario Hoops.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm
Final Fantasy 3. There's of course Yoshi Island 2. I mean, there's a lot of big time games coming out.
Yeah, now to the end of the year is just insane, dude. The holiday season with the Wii coming out in November. Wii. I'm still not into it yet. I think it's kind of growing on me a little bit, but it's just like Windows, dude. It's like Microsoft Windows. I don't necessarily like Windows, but I like what I can do with it. I'm sure the Wii will be the same thing.
Oh, definitely, yes.
I'm not going to like the name, but it's going to be awesome, some of the great games that are coming out for that. But this isn't the Wii show. This is the Nintendo DS show. So for this episode's editorial commentary, we want to talk about shoehorn gaming. And actually, this was Chris's invention. I think you came up with shoehorn, didn't you?
Possibly, yeah. Because I was saying, like, it's funny how they'll take these companies will take a known intellectual property, okay, such as one of them we're going to talk about, Burnout Legends. An excellent series, right? I mean, I know you're a fan of it.
I'm a huge fan of Burnout.
But on the consoles, okay? I mean, PlayStation 2, Xbox, the games look fantastic. Full 3D. I mean, the systems are just spitting this game out like nothing.
Yeah.
It almost looks like it's at least maybe almost 60 frames per second. They held nothing back. There's stuff everywhere. It's a fantastic game, a lot of speed. But something like the DS, it's just this is a type of game that coming from the consoles, you can't see them trying to get this adequately ported over to the DS system. I mean, the DS, as great as it is, it does have its shortcomings. And something like Burnout Legends is one of those games that I like to say called shoehorned into the system, because they took a popular name, they knew it was going to sell, and they knew they'd get away with getting tons of stock shipped just based on the name alone.
Absolutely.
That it was almost like, hey, let's just do this half-assed and rely on the name alone. We've already made mega bucks already off the PlayStation 2, Xbox versions or even the PSP version.
Yeah.
So why not just throw the name on the DS? Nobody will even notice. Nobody will care. They'll buy it, and even if it sucks, it doesn't matter because we got their money because they bought it.
Right.
So that's what I like to say in terms of shoehorning it onto the system. It's something that doesn't really seem to want to belong on the system, but they figured out how to do it one way or another, either for the good or the bad. Usually it's the bad.
Yeah, and you take a look at some other games. It's the DS is a special system. I'm not talking special like Special K, like the special boy down the road that needs special care. It's a special system, and you can't shoehorn console games. You can't shoehorn PlayStation Portable games into the DS because its strength does not exist in the high CPU, high graphic buffer scenario.
Right.
It's just that's not what it was made for. It was made for innovative type gaming where playing is more important than looking at it. Now, That's not to say that the DS can't produce some stunning visuals, but you have to be willing to work at great length
and care about it.
Now, obviously, EA doesn't give a rat's ass about the DS based on, Marvel Rise of the Imperfects,
Burnout Legends.
I mean,
GoldenEye, which sucked.
GoldenEye, I kind of mixed about. Originally, I thought, man, this really sucks, and I played it for a little while, and I kind of warmed up to it a little bit. But overall, it sucks. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but you also warmed up to Burnout Legends.
I'm telling you, you and I are going to go head-to-head on Burnout Legends. I do agree that it was way too ambitious for the DS, but considering what they managed to shoehorn in, what they managed to pull off with it, we'll talk about that. That's a whole other show.
It's just, the thing is, though, I mean, everybody was always saying, oh, DS can't do 3D, blah, blah. But the problem is they were always comparing it with what the PSP could do.
Right, or the consoles.
Right. Now, the thing is, the DS can actually pull off some really nice 3D when they go and just take the time and nurture it and just work with it. I mean, look at Final Fantasy III, just from the screenshots of that. I mean, that looks amazing.
Sure.
There's another game coming out in Japan, Dragon Quest Monsters Joker or something of the sort. It's kind of like a cell-based, fully 3D artwork, and it's just really amazing. I mean, the graphics are beyond anything that even the old PlayStation was doing at the time.
It's just a matter of, look at Metroid Prime Hunters. Brilliant.
Yes.
But, they spent a year optimizing, counting
exactly.
polys, counting points, making sure that everything was in order. EA is not interested in that. EA is Electronic Arts is an assembly line gaming company. Their gaming has to do with getting X number of titles out in a certain period of time. Quality is not job one for them. It's the numbers. They've got a formula. It's like the Disney machine. There's a formula to the way EA kicks out titles. And unfortunately, it just happened to work its way over to the DS, which is
a shame,
unfortunate.
too. It's a real shame because speaking about EA, I mean, back in the day, in the 80s, especially EA, when they had their heyday, they were known for quality. You knew if you bought an EA game that you were going to get something special. You know,
you could buy it sight unseen.
I mean, the boxes alone were special. I mean, they were like little record albums. You know, I mean, the flat boxes with this wonderful artwork. You always had some special art. You opened it up, and the way it opened up and spanned both sides of the box, telling you about who actually created the game. I mean, their games actually used to have bios of all the creators of their games inside the box. I mean, how cool is that? You know, you just knew something was special about these games. Nowadays, it's, like you said, it's all cookie-cutter, assembly line-driven mismatch.
Now, you know, it's important to note, though, that shoehorning doesn't just have to do with taking a far too ambitious game and trying to shoehorn it into the DS. There's also shoehorning where they abuse the DS. They overcompensate. Classic example is using features of the DS like the touchscreen or the microphone or the dual screens in what is traditionally called a gimmicky way. What they'll do is they'll take an existing game and they'll force feed touchscreen or they'll force feed microphone in a manner that makes no sense at all. Or even if it does make sense, you're in the middle of this vicious battle. Oh, gotta trace a rune, you know, like Castlevania. You know, you look at that, you're going, okay, casting a spell with a rune is cool. Look at Lost Magic. It perfectly works there. It's intuitive. It makes sense. But to be in the middle of this battle, you go against this bad guy in Castlevania, and then right as you're getting ready to finish the dude off, gotta
fumble for your stylus.
It's like, oh, come on.
I mean, there's actually been threads and forums talking about what's the best way to play this game. Oh, well, I hold the stylus in my mouth while I play with my hands so that I'm quick on the draw, and no pun intended.
Dumbass. Anyway, no, but you know, you've got a good point there. It's like you're not playing with the stylus at all. In Lost Magic, the whole game revolves around that system,
right?
And it works. You know, I guess the next Tomb Raider is going to have some methodology where you blow dust off of artifacts. Now, the first thing I heard was, oh, this is stupid, it's shoehorned in. We don't know. We don't know how they're going to use it. It could be cool, but it depends on how the rest of the game controls. Does it make sense to put a microphone thing in there? Are they doing it just to put mic support in there, or do you make a good use of it?
Yeah, I mean, if it's actually important to the game, I mean, I guess they could easily have that part of the game be in there. I think it has something to do with where, you know, there's supposed to be some kind of an old relic under a bunch of sand, and it sounds like you're going to be able to blow the sand off. Now,
I mean, look at like Lost in Blue. When you look down at the beach, you can actually dig through the sand to find
for the shells,
crabs, or find, you know, dig up things.
Yeah.
That works. I mean, to me, that was an effective use of the touch.
I mean, it's either that or, you know, you have a little digitized hand on the screen, and you're going to be moving the D-pad or the analog pad over the sand back and forth, you know, to dig up the sand. So, I mean, blowing on it would seem like to be something a little more interesting, I guess. But I mean, it wouldn't be the end-all to be-all to the game, obviously. I mean, if it was just something extra they threw in, you know, as maybe some kind of a puzzle. If it was a type of puzzle that, you know, really added to it, you know, I could see it working. You know, it's funny. Speaking of Castlevania, we have a little in our news segment, a little something more to add to that. You know, speaking of the whole stylus thing, but I don't want to bring it up just yet.
We're going to make you wait and make you listen to Touch and Go. So, you know, and the other part of that too is, you know, when you look at shoehorning, the whole concept of shoehorn gaming is taking a decent concept and dicking it up, or taking something that doesn't belong on the system, like Burnout or whatever, and shoveling it into the unit. But there's also something else that just drives me batty with the DS, and I don't understand this. I mean, you'd expect this if there were like dudes in their garage writing this stuff, and literally there was like two dudes, and one guy was writing code and the other one was drawing pictures, and he's like, hey, what do you think of this? Oh, that's pretty cool. Let's deliver it. You know, let's ship it. But when you have companies like EA or, you know, Konami or Capcom delivering games like Zoo Tycoon, I mean, what? How could you mess that up?
Yeah.
I mean, I know in a previous show we've totally lambasted on Zoo Tycoon, but you use it as a mouse, right? That's like
I'll tell you what, man. I mean, getting this game. I mean, even my wife was excited about this. I mean, she thought this looked like the coolest thing because she had this on her computer and she loved it. You know, you had the little arrow, you moved it around with either the touchpad on your laptop or the mouse, and everything was just so intuitive. You know, you clicked your little icon, and then you clicked a pavement or something. You know, and then you clicked it on the map, and it would draw pavement in wherever you clicked. You would think you'd be able to do that with the stylus. But you're using the D-pad.
I'm like going, what? I've got a stylus right here that I could draw the inside of this lion's cage.
I mean, it seemed like a natural fit to me, you know, and that's why I'm afraid to see eventually if they ever do Diablo.
They better not screw that up, or I swear to God, I'll firebomb Blizzard,
come on.
dude. You'll see me on the 10 o'clock news. You know,
but
fat 35-year-old guy firebombs Blizzard over a video game. Yeah.
I mean, they really screwed the pooch with the game. You know? I mean, it total letdown of the game.
I don't understand. Like I said, it's not like two people, you know, who are drunk coded this thing and go, hey, this works out pretty good, man. What do you think? Yeah, that works out pretty good. You know, dude, somebody, you know, a team of at least 5 people worked on this game. They have a quality issue. Who made Zoo Tycoon? That was
Microsoft was involved in some degree, but I think it was
can't remember who actually published it, but it had to go through. It had to go through the development house's QA. It had to go through the publisher, and then Nintendo had to give it a seal of approval at some point. 3 people dropped the ball and let this go to press, let this go to print. And you're thinking to yourself, all 3 of those need to be fired.
Was
it THQ?
See that?
You're right. You know what? You're right. We're going to have to editorialize on THQ on one of the next shows because they deserve to have our wrath brought down upon them.
Well, that was one of my possibilities, but you know.
That was. We were trying to fish for an editorial between us, and we came up with Shoehorn Gaming, but the THQ syndrome was something that we were going to talk about. We'll talk about that in another one.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because when I heard that Mech Warrior, another Microsoft product, was coming out for the DS, I kind of rolled my eyes and I said, "Oh, here we go again." You know, how are they going to quote unquote shoehorn Mech Warrior, which has been an Xbox game, and I think before that basically PC, you know, into the DS? I mean, this is a huge 3D game, and only recently, actually in the last couple days or so, have we seen video, and I'm really quite impressed with how it's looking. I mean, it looks almost dead on like the Xbox version, but in miniature form.
It's amazing. I mean,
it's looking once again. It's all because of the video. You know, the screenshots. I'm sorry, they do not work out. The screenshots do not help any game. Okay, you can sit and say, okay, that looks nice, but you're never, firmly, I guess, satisfied, you know, in knowing if this game's going to be pulled off or not until you see the video. And in this case, the video looks fantastic. I'm actually really looking forward to the game because it was a lot of fun on the Xbox. And if they added some kind of LAN play, which I'm sure they will, Wi-Fi would be fantastic. But I'm not counting on it. You know, that's one of the success stories. I think that's going to be one of the. I think a lot of companies are starting to wake up a little bit and realize that, you know, the DS isn't going to bomb like I think a lot of these companies originally thought they was.
Yeah.
I mean, how many EA games are really mind-blowing? The only one I can think of is the FIFA 06.
Yeah.
That really pulled off a great game. I mean, it got 8s pretty much out of 10 for most of the reviews. I mean, even Madden's been pretty subpar on the DS, and I still don't quite understand how they're screwing that one up. But
yeah, 07 was a little bit better than 06. Or wait a minute, 06 was better than 05.
Was better than 05.
That's what it was. Yeah. I mean, it was like, okay, you guys are starting to figure it out. You know, but it's like it's EA. You know, you expect everyone needs ramp up time on a console. It's like, well, you know, it's just released, and you know, we need some ramp up time, dude. It's been a year, right. And you've had a dev kit for at least 6 to 8 months before then. You don't have launchitis to blame on how crappy your titles are.
You know, another example of, you know, how anti-shoehorning comes in. It says, Age of Empires. I mean, look how well that was pulled off.
That's amazing how well they pulled that off.
I mean, that's another game that you're thinking, how are they going to put this on the DS? And you're thinking, well, it's going to be another Zoo Tycoon. It really worked out really well.
But see, they took their time and they stopped and said, wait a minute. Right. They started off as a real-time strategy game just like the PC. And
they
like,
redesigned it backwards from the start, you know, from end to the beginning.
You know, they're like going, oh, man, you know, I'm not sure we can pull this off and do it right. So let's go turn-based. where we can have a little more control over, the artifacts and everything, the artwork. And let's see if we can pull it off like that. And they went back to the drawing board. They changed into a turn-based game, and it turned out great. I mean, this is an example of somebody who didn't shoehorn that could have. We could have ended up with, Shogun, what was the name of that?
That was so bad that I actually don't even remember
its title. Shogun Empires. Oh, man. There's another dropped ball. We could have had Lord of the Rising Sun on that, but no, we had to mess it up. So there's a bunch of different ways that people are dicking up DS gaming. The shoehorning, bad use of features, not passing an idiot check, not saying, hey, you're a good DS user. Would you like to take a look at, take a beta of our latest game and tell us where we're messed up? Yeah.
A lot of common sense stuff is just being totally overlooked. That's what it comes
you've
down
got
to.
two screens. What is that? Teo's Curse. Teo's
Quest. Adventure.
Teo's Adventure, Curse Quest, whatever. It was. What a blown opportunity that was. Imagine a game where you have two screens, where you can have a map on the top screen, but you can't look at the map and move at the same time. What was that all about? I mean, how hard is that?
It was like, it's basically like what they're doing. If you think about it, the new Zelda that Nintendo's coming out with, that was kind of what TALS should have been.
Exactly.
Zelda's got the map on the top, and you're still using the touchpad to control your character.
Right.
And do everything. And that's what they were trying to do with TALS Adventure. They were trying to use the touchscreen as movement. But at the same time, you can also use the D-pad, so it made no sense. Why even take up the whole freaking touchpad for movement when the D-pad was doing it anyway? But then on top of it, they wasted all that space. I mean, you can't access your map screen. I mean, it's just, it didn't make any sense to me. And it seems in the Zelda Phantom Hourglass, from the video I'm seeing, you got a map on the top screen at all times, and then at the bottom you have your play field, which you're using on top of the touch screen. You don't have touch controls. They're actually built in, to the character himself.
Listen, if anybody who worked on these games that we smacked around, like Zoo Tycoon or Teo's Adventure, would you do us a favor and let us interview you? I mean, we'll be gentle. We just have to know why. I mean, I can understand, leaving something out. Like, let's say, okay, there's no multiplayer because we ran out of money and ran out of time. That's not a great excuse, but it's an excuse. To let something like the Zoo Tycoon UI or this map thing, how much longer would it take you to allow you to drag the mouse across to build the lion's cage instead of using the D-pad? Somebody just fell asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
And I want to know why. I want to know if any of these developers have justification for pumping out $30 pieces of tripe. That's exactly what these things are.
And the thing is simple. As we said before, we've said this in other shows, it's very simple, it seems to me. I'm not a programmer, but would it really have been that hard to simply use either the left or right trigger buttons or even the select button? I mean, the poor select button never gets any use anyway.
No love.
Why don't... It would be perfect. Why couldn't you use that as an option to switch screens back and forth?
Right. Some games do that, but
on
not
the
very
bottom.
many.
On the bottom, you have your inventory. Okay, you have all the objects and like the walkways, the animals, the type of structures, water, everything that you'd want to put in your zoo. The zoo's on the top screen. Okay, taking up the whole screen. The bottom, you have your money. You have all these icons associated with all the things you can do. Why not have it so you could touch on the bottom screen? Okay, I'm going to put some hedges here, okay? So you're going to click your hedges. You tap your hedges with your touch screen, with your stylus on the touch screen. You hit the select button to flip the screens around. Now you have your zoo on the bottom screen. So now you can tap in where you want all your hedges. Okay? Now I want to add some pavement. Click, select. Boom, you're right back to your little selector.
You ain't got to have the select button.
How simple is
that? Put a little swap icon.
Right, an
on the
icon.
screen.
Yeah, even that. Yeah, that's perfect.
This is not brain surgery. You know what? Feel free. Any of you developers that are listening to the show, feel free to borrow these ideas and implement them as your own. Feel free. We don't even need a royalty check.
It's just funny because I'm buying this game and I'm thinking that there's no other way they can do this. This is perfect. This has got to be how. I honestly was joking with myself. I was kidding myself that this can't be. I mean, hello. I mean, I don't make $1 billion to sit here. I thought of this in like 5 minutes. You know, as soon as I saw the screenshots for Zoo Tycoon, I said to myself, that's got to be how it's played. Because what other system is Zoo Tycoon on? I mean,
PC.
Right, that's it. And it has a mouse. Okay, so now you have the DS with the stylus, which is more or less similar idea rather to a mouse. You know, it's a point and click kind of usability about it.
There's no genius behind this, folks. I'm telling you. I'll tell you what. This is an open call, developers. I think every show we're going to do this. Open call to developers. If you would like a sanity check of your title, we'll sign an NDA. You can send us over a beta of whatever you're working on, and we'll tell you what's wrong with it. I mean,
just mechanically speaking.
Yeah. I mean, I've done game coding. I mean, I'm not going to tell you how to code a routine. I'm going to tell you, dude, the UI doesn't work. And then it's up to you to decide whether or not you're going to leave this horrible, horrible map system on there, like Tayo's Adventure, or you're going to say, oh, dude, I don't know what we were thinking. We got blinders on. You know, this is how we did it on the Game Boy, so this is how we're doing it on the DS. No.
Yeah, that's the problem. I think
that's what it is, dude. I mean,
a lot of these companies are coming off the Game Boy Advance.
But these are professionals, man.
With this mentality that, we're just going to take what's on there and shoehorn it in and then say, oh, well, it's got a touch screen, so, we'll allow people to choose 1 or 2 player or options from the touch screen. Yeah. That'll be amazing. You can actually tap on these now. And
everything else is D-pad.
Yes, but everything else is D-pad. Okay, so hey, we have made use of the touchpad.
If you would like to hire us to be your quality assurance sanity checkers, drop us an email at dualscreenradio.com.
Yeah,
we'll take care of you. I mean, especially if you got one of these big titles. If you got one of these big titles and you need a confidential, secure person to bounce this stuff off of, let us know. Seriously, if somebody wrote to me and said, "Listen, I work for THQ. We're getting ready to flag out Zoo Tycoon, and we're getting like 3/4 of the way through. Everything kind of works, and we're dying to have somebody that's in the media business that also is a game player that can kind of tell us what's going on with this and see what you guys think. Where do they get beta testers for these things? Do they use like each other's cubes and say, hey Bob? Bob's over in accounting or something. Hey, Bob, hey, what do you think of this build of Zoo Tycoon?
Let's get a guy down from the mailroom,
Yeah. Hey, you're the FedEx dude, right? Come here. No, I don't know, dude. I don't know where they get people to try these things, but, casual gamers don't put up with that crap. If you're really trying to target the casual gamers are used to being led by the hand, if nothing else. They're used to you, little lights shining, pointing arrows and stuff, telling them what to do, and it's got to be intuitive or you lose them. It's like a website, man. If the first 30 seconds you don't grip the person, they're gone. Same thing with these casual gamers, man. If you have to wade through a crappy UI, just going to turn around and walk away. So,
yeah.
Anyway, shoehorn gaming.
That's what my wife did with Zoo Tycoon. We haven't touched it since...
Literally, my Zoo Tycoon got booted once. I played it. And it's never been played
48 hours after we bought it. It's been on the shelf since.
It's so sad. It is. It's just.
And this is why I will not blindly go in and buy a game ever.
And you know what sucks even worse than that is if that would have done well, if they had done that right, we could have had Roller Coaster Tycoon, dude. I would have let you cut off a finger or a toe if I could have had a fully realized Nintendo DS version of Roller Coaster Tycoon. That game kicked so much ass. I played that like mad on the PC. That's so cool, man. You get the maintenance man fixing crap up. That was so great. But no,
we had a few family members over here that were pretty deep into that as well. And
that's good stuff. I mean, that's good stuff. I liked it.
Throw in like a little zoom function or something,
Yeah. Well, that's about it. I think we've bitched enough about shoehorn gaming. You guys get the idea. And like we said in another show, I know we keep adding listeners, and I know that our old listeners are going to hear us repeat a couple of things from time to time, but that's just the nature of the beast. We are growing so quick with listeners that every show, like a third of our audience are first-time listeners. So they don't have the benefit of some of you, salty dogs that have been listening since episode 1.
Lifer dogs.
Yeah, lifer dogs. But what's really funny is I just completely forgot about where I was going with that. Oh, well. Too bad. Oh, I know what it was. We're gonna the old video warning. If you don't see a game's video, a video posted of a game that's coming before the release date, run. Burnout Legends was a perfect example. Picture, no video,
Top
no
Spin
video.
2.
Top Spin 2. Boy.
Dude, even Break 'em All had a video before release.
1995 game had a video.
Break 'em All. I mean, come on.
What does this take, guys? I mean, I know your dev kit lets you do video out. I don't know. All right. That's enough of that.
Well,
I've got a couple
on.
of really good stories to tell. Actually, one of them is better than the other one. This one, I was at IHOP. This was a while ago. I think I told this on my other radio show, so some of you might have already heard this. But my wife and I were sitting there having breakfast at IHOP, International House of Pancakes for people who might live in Germany and there's no IHOP. This is a little restaurant that deals like in breakfast 24 hours a day type thing. So we're sitting there, we're eating.
Great for the drunks.
Yeah, great for the drunks. That's what happens. You see a bunch of college kids there at like midnight, and all they do is buy coffee and a piece of pie. And they try to stack the dishes as high as they can. Been there, done that. But I'm sitting there, and my wife and I like to view. We like to sit there and pretend like we're talking to each other when we're actually listening to other people's conversations. I know it's called eavesdropping to other people, but I love to absorb what's going on around me. And I'll tell you what, if you sit in an airport and keep your mouth shut and just listen, you could write volumes of books on how stupid people are, or just amazing stuff that you hear. Listening, you're not trying to listen to the conversation, you're just absorbing what you're hearing.
You're like one of those neighbors in your neighborhood that kind of knows everything about everybody.
That's funny. And I don't apply it to my neighborhood. I don't want to know anything about my neighbors, which is really funny. The only thing I know about my neighbors, they have an unsecured web, or a wireless access point. Not that I would do anything with it, of course. But it's always nice to know that it's out there. My DS shows me every time I hop on. But no. So we're sitting at IHOP, and I'm overhearing this kid. This kid's got a Game Boy SP, Game Boy Advance SP, and he's playing it. And I could actually see him. I was turned the right way, and I saw him playing it, and all of a sudden the screen shuts off. Battery went dead, obviously, right? He didn't turn it off or anything. The battery just went dead. And the kid's like, oh, it went dead. And the mom, oh, my God. If I would have had a gun right about then or some sharp object, I might have actually hopped over the booth and, I don't know, stuck a soldering iron in the throat. But she's like, uh-oh. Is there something wrong with your Game Boy? Did you get a virus when you plugged it in to charge it this morning? I just sat there with my mouth open. My wife's looking at me, and I'm like,
Shoo retarded flu.
Yeah, shoo retarded flu. Some of you will get that. No, seriously, I'm sitting there, and my mouth just drops open. My wife's like, is something wrong? You having a stroke or what? I'm like, did you hear what that mom just said? She's like, no. I said, I'll tell you later. And she started going on and on about how unsafe it was to plug it in. And finally the kid's like, Mom, the batteries are dead.
He'll never be able to play that system again. If you can't plug it in the wall, he'll never be playing it because he might get a virus. And
comedy, somebody once said comedy's 98% timing. The timing of this kid looking at her like she'd sprouted horns and said, no, Mom, the batteries are dead. It was priceless. It was like the best thing ever. I started laughing. But when she said, did you get a virus plugging it into the wall? I suddenly realized the stock of humanity around us at that moment in time. It's like, what's really sad? That wasn't a joke.
I got Luigi Simplex.
Yeah, I'm not into the, Nazi superior racism, but come on now. I don't know. I just sat there with my mouth hanging open. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And then the kid owned on her and said, no, Mom, the batteries are dead. Priceless. You can't get better than that. That's good stuff. Anyway, that's one story. The other story I had, you guys know that I'm real tight with my local GameStop. And I go in there about every other day to see what's going on, see if any DS games slid in when no one was looking, or pick up one of those rare Trauma Centers or Phoenix Wrights that happen to come in. So I'm pretty tight with my GameStop. So I was sliding by there just to drop in, and there's a sign on the front door. You got the security gates pulled shut, and it says on a sign on the door, it says, closed until further notice.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, my God, what the hell happened? Because did we talk about it in our last show that my GameStop got robbed?
Yeah, it was either the last or the one before. We did talk about it.
So apparently GameStops get robbed all the time because they have the exact same layout and the exact same security and the exact same everything.
They have the similar floor plan going on.
So once you know how to break into a GameStop and disable their alarm and turn off their video cameras and everything, you can do it to any of them, apparently. So my GameStop that I did not know about had been robbed like 3 or 4 times in the last couple of years. And then they got robbed at gunpoint. Some guys came in ski masks and shotguns and robbed the place. And they got away with a whole $500 or something like that.
Somebody played a little too much Grand Theft Auto.
Lots of Grand Theft Auto there. I think it's the Liberty City one that caused them to do that sort of thing. But that's what you get for having a PlayStation Portable instead of a nice, loving, family-friendly DS. But no, that was my public service announcement. So anyway, so I figured, man, they got hit again. They got closed down by district office. And it turned out that one of the managers apparently had, like, taken some sleeping pills with antihistamines or something. And she was, like, so out of it, she was sick. And she couldn't sleep because she was all stuffed up, so she took the antihistamines. But then she took the sleeping pills so she could sleep, blah, blah, blah. Basically, non-prescription drug abuse. Let's be honest here. It's GameStop. And so apparently she thought that she'd called herself in sick. Well, she didn't. So the store didn't get opened, right? So the district manager calls the manager, the main manager, and she has to come in alone. Well, she calls everybody on staff. Everyone's gone. Everyone's out for the day. She can't get a hold of anybody. So she has to go down, open the store, and I guess some customer flamed the crap out of her for being closed or something. I didn't get the details on that. But she, like, snapped. I mean, she, like, had some sort of a breakdown and just snapped and tore the customer's head off or something. The customer, of course, went and called the district manager, and the district manager called up and what's going on, and basically the manager said, you know what, I can't do this anymore, and just handed him the keys and walked away.
Wow.
And then as soon as she handed in her keys, the one that was sick is like the assistant manager. As soon as she heard that the manager walked, she immediately walked. And so the district manager has, like, no managers. Nobody on staff at GameStop can open the store other than a manager and assistant manager.
Was that one of the ones I was talking to that time when I called?
Yes.
Wow.
The one you were talking to was the one that had a little non-prescription drug interaction. So, and then another guy who didn't want to work that day, as soon as the 2 managers walked, the district manager calls him and says, hey, I need you to work today. And he's like, can't do, got plans. And he's like, no. What are your plans? Can you break them? He's like, dude, I'm not telling you.
I got some NyQuil to drink.
Yeah, get some NyQuil. And he's like, I'm just going to give my 2 weeks notice. If this person's gone and this person's gone, I don't think I'm going to be wanting to work at GameStop anymore anyway.
It's like a strike or something, dude.
Yeah, so he's like, so consider this my 2-week notice. And the district manager said, forget the 2 weeks, just give me your keys. So they fired him on the spot, which basically left 3 part-timers in charge of the store. And none of them had keys or the ability to open the store.
Insane.
So they had, dude, it's amazing, man. So they had to actually get one of the other store managers to come and open the thing. Nobody knows where anything is, even though every store is exactly alike. How does that work out? So they got the one part-timer guy in there that knows something. They have 2 new guys that are part-timers that just started. And one of those left to transfer to another store. And so they've got, like, anybody they can hustle up from any other store is now working at my GameStop. I go in and there's nobody in there I know.
It's like a skeleton crew.
It's amazing, man. I was like, wow. You don't see that sort of thing happen. Or if it happens, you're never really, behind the front lines and get to see what happens. And the one guy called me. I realized when the store was closed, it said until further notice, I said, oh, man, I don't have anybody's phone number. I don't have the manager's phone number, even though we've hung out. I don't have the dude's phone number. And I just sold him a SuperCard. I don't have anybody's number. I have nobody's phone number. I don't know what's going on. And then, like, an hour later, the dude I sold the SuperCard to called me up, and I'm like, oh, dude, thank God you called. I don't have your number. What's going on, man? Was there, like, was there a murder spree in GameStop land or what? Then he told me the whole deal, about the managers and everything. I'm like, damn. Wow.
Wow, man.
That's crazy. And, the one guy basically said, with the way that GameStop manages things, the way that, not the store managers, because they're all usually pretty cool, but
right, coming from corporate, I guess.
Like the district or the regional managers. Yeah. They said with managers like that, no wonder they can't keep people in the store. How do you do that? You call somebody on their day off. They've got plans. They tell you they can't break them. And then basically you, like, goad them and make them feel bad until they either agree to come in or you fire them. What's that? I know you were in a tight spot, but simmer down.
I guess that's the end of your freebies then for a while. Huh?
No. I'll go in there and suck up, dude. I'll make sure I get in there.
You gotta get that DS download station blue rug, man.
Dude, the guy that was in there from Arrowhead, that son of a bitch has a Nintendo DS Lite pin.
Oh.
It's a big white pin, and it says Nintendo DS Lite, lighter, brighter, better, or something like that. I'm eyeing this guy's pin going, I got to get one of those. I've got to have one of those pins. I'm thinking, dude, this is beyond obsession. I'm starting to fantasize about getting some dude's pin from his lapel. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, and I could just see you walk up to the house and you get your little DS download station blue rug out front.
Dude, I am going to get that mat, which is really sad. I was hoping that one of them, when they left, would steal it.
Hey, you know, I mean, they're so used to getting robbed at this point. Maybe I'll just go for it.
That's what I told him.
Dude.
I told him one time, this is really bad, dude, but to add to the story, like
get your
2 or
karate
3
outfit
days
on.
after, the guy that I was going to meet with this after he closed, I was going to meet the guy and sell him the SuperCard. And I was telling my kid, I said, you know what would be really funny? If I showed up after, because it was after they closed, after 9 o'clock. He told me to come by about 9:20, 9:30. And he said, just come by, rap on the glass, and I'll come out and get the card or whatever. And so I told my kid, I said, hey, wouldn't it be funny if I showed up with a ski mask on? And my kid's like, damn, that's messed up. And I told the guy, I said, yeah, I was going to show up in a ski mask just for giggles. He's like, that's not funny, man. Because he was one of the guys that was in there when they got robbed. I said, oh, it would have been funny, just not to you. Anyway.
Show up with a ski mask and a super soaker.
Yes, a black painted super soaker.
Hi, I'm a real stupid, robber now, man. This place is so easy.
Oh yeah, I want that blue mat though. Eventually, one will show up on eBay, and I'll be able to get it probably.
Look, man, you don't want to die, and I don't want to have to kill you. Just give me the blue mat.
Give me the blue mat. That's funny. Yeah. Could you just see the news report? Robbed at gunpoint. GameStop lost only one item: a crappy trot upon promotion mat that's available right now for $5 on eBay. Would it only be that news anchors were that clever? They're never that clever, dude. I got to get on the mass media, dude, because I could make these stories great. Because they wouldn't check in to see how much one of these cost or whether you could get one.
No.
All they say is, held at gunpoint. The manager quit over the event and took half the employees. Then you don't say, and by the way, the crooks only got away with $500. They're risking a 30-year felony jail sentence. For $500,
right? That's what always blew me away whenever you hear these shoplifting stories. If you're going to get caught shoplifting something, don't get caught shoplifting a CD or an Xbox game. Get caught shoplifting like a stereo surround system or something.
Did you ever see that? We're totally straying off here, but we'll wrap this up. Did you ever read The Far Side from Gary Larson?
Of course.
Did you ever see the one entitled "Stupid Piano Salesman"? Did you see that one?
I think I know which one you're talking about. The problem is there are so many strips with pianos and cows especially. A lot of them start to blend together.
So in this strip, and the audience will love this, in this strip, there's a guy walking out of a piano store. And he's got an overcoat on.
Yes, he's got the overcoat shaped like a piano. Yeah, I remember that.
He has a grand piano under his overcoat.
He's got the little fedora and the glasses on. And he's just kind of moseying out with his hands in his pocket. Yeah.
And the piano salesman's running after him with a stool, saying, "Excuse me, sir, I think you dropped something." Dude, that's like the best. Every time I hear these stupid shoplifting stories, that's always what comes to mind. Okay, well, enough Storytime Theater here. We got to get on with the rest
Join us next week for another stimulating episode.
Stimulating stories. I don't have that many stories.
Storytime Corner.
Storytime Corner. Yes, it's like Teletubbies, only not. Okay, reviews, man.
Finally, we're getting on to the good
We're actually getting on to the show now. We've already gone through 45 minutes of filler. No, I know everyone loves this stuff, so I don't feel too bad about running the show long to get in a little extra.
We got two big reviews this week. Should we start off with, we got Point Blank. So we'll get started with that one. What do you say?
That sounds good.
Okay. Point Blank is out for the DS, and the first thing that I thought of is, how are they going to do this? Point Blank was actually an arcade gun game. It came out, I'd say, what was that? Maybe the mid-'90s.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, because I had it on the PlayStation back in maybe '98 or so, and it's one of the best gun games I think I've played. There's actually been 3 of them in total. Now, I don't know if all 3 of them came out at the arcade. I do know all 3 of them were on the PlayStation, which is where I remember playing it the most, the PlayStation 1. As I said, the best gun games I've ever played. Mostly relied on quick reflexes and accuracy. But usually at the end of the day, whoever had the most shots, the most kills, so to speak, since you were shooting clay ducks and ninjas and all sorts of things, was the winner. Now, Namco's decided to bring this game to the DS. And once again, how are they going to do this? Your stylus is the light gun. And I think they pulled it off rather well. It's 40 levels of different types of shooting gallery fun. Ranging from, little targets that pop up, simple shoot, go, move on. You got a time limit, or in some cases, you'll have a certain amount of bullets that you have to your arsenal that you can't run through, or otherwise you're going to lose. You have 3 little health bars at the bottom. I've always been a big fan of this series because it had so much variety and diversity going for it. You never knew what was going to come up next. The only thing that was similar was that you're going to be using the gun to shoot whatever it was that was going to come up. And that's what's so great about this. It's a nice little mini game rigmarole of fun.
Yeah, imagine a shooting version of WarioWare.
Exactly.
It's kind of what it's
yes.
like. I mean, there's so many little options and little things. When you play the game on different levels, the targets get bigger and smaller. They move faster. So even though there's only 40 levels, they have all sorts of variants of each level to keep things fresh.
There's a lot of diversity and things to keep you interested. A couple of them I think are really cool. I remember in the PlayStation ones, I haven't gotten through all of them yet on this. I mean, like I said, there's about 40 different little mini shooting galleries. So I don't know if it's in this one or not, but you would have like a whole set of like little stuffed animals up on a shelf. About 8 or 9, 10 stuffed animals. And in the center at the top, there would be an animal that you'd have to, match up. Actually, this one is in this one. There's another one I'm thinking of. It's similar to this, where it'll play a sound for the animal, and you have to shoot the animal that you hear the sound of. It's sort of like what's in Big Brain Academy, except with this, you're under even more heavy of a time limit because you have to do this in repetition about 10 different times at least in order to successfully move on in the level and win it. A couple other ones are really neat, or objects that will kind of blow up like from the grass, kind of like a duck hunt kind of thing. And you have like a split second to shoot the correct item. You'll see an item at the top that says you must shoot this. And you'll get maybe like 5 different items that pop up real quick, and you got to find it and shoot it before they land on the ground. They pop up from the grass.
Yeah, that's what one of those things is like stuffed animals that they do that with. And
yeah,
then another
or
one
it'll
is
be
like,
tin cans or
tin cans. They got one of the things that I thought was cool is they throw up a bunch of different athletic balls.
Like soccer balls, footballs, baseball. Yeah,
and sometimes they'll throw more than one of the same item up, so you can actually score. I think
you get a
2
little more of a
soccer
chance.
balls.
Yeah, you get a chance to. If you're kind of looking towards the left screen, you may see one on the left and the right, so you kind of are a little more evened out in terms of balance. But there's just so many games; it's impossible to go over them.
All of them, yeah.
The game does not take itself seriously at all. This isn't like what was it? Lethal Enforcer. Where you're just shooting criminals. It had a more realistic tone to it. This is just all about fun. I mean, the graphics are hysterical. And what's great is this is a Namco game, and now they're Namco Bandai, and I hate their new logo, but what's great is it's Namco, so you see a lot of little Namco cameos pop up.
Which is very cool.
In the past series, I remember one of my favorites was the Galaga level. When you do the special stage in Galaga, and the ships would come out in the little patterns and would race across the screen. It was a little mini recreation of that. And you had to shoot the little alien ships with your light gun, like and they run out. It was really a lot of fun. Or you'd have the Pookie and the little dragon from Dig Dug. Yeah, that's it, Fygar. And you'd have to shoot them, to pump them up. It's like you're Dig Dug, but with your light gun, and you'd have to shoot them fast as you can to pump them up and make them explode, and you have to do like 10 of them, within like 20 seconds. So, stuff like that was really neat. I know in this one, I haven't seen anything like that yet, but the closest I've seen to some cameos are a little-known Japanese shooter called Cosmo Gang the Video, which I've always been a big fan of it. You didn't really see any release outside of America. I've really discovered it thanks to MAME. And I actually managed to locate the JAMA cabinet, not the cabinet, but the card for my cabinet. And it's a fantastic game. It's using the technology from Galaga 90, which is fantastic itself.
Good stuff.
And those little aliens from Cosmo Gang Video make a little appearance here. They're the ones that you'll see trying to steal your boxes, and they try to take the boxes, and you have to stop them from taking the boxes to the back of the screen.
Level.
Yeah, that's actually a bonus stage in Cosmo Gang, where you have to move your ship under and shoot them. It's really cool stuff. And it's almost like a whack-a-mole kind of thing, where the little alligator guys would come out of the holes, and you have to shoot them to make them go back in. Instead of pounding them with your big foam boom, boom pounder, like in the arcade, the ones where you win the tickets with. So a lot of Namco stuff is built in here, because Namco's always creating the little whack-a-mole parlor type games. It's a variety of different games, and some of them where there's the two mascot characters, Dr. Dan and Dr. Don, and you have to protect them from like barrels dropping from the sky, or a UFO will try to abduct them. You guys shoot them all down. There's a lot of time-oriented things going on here, but there's also the ones where you have an allotted set of bullets that you can't go over. I think the big one I'm thinking of is the one where it shoots the clay targets, which I've noticed are very hard to see actually.
Yeah, they're pretty decent on the light, but I can imagine what they'd be like to see on the classic DS. That might.
But
not
I
be
think
as
you only
easy.
have like 10 shots,
Yeah.
and you have to get them. If you're not dead on, you're kind of screwed early on if you screwed up. But it reminds me very much of Duck Hunt's little clay shooting mode.
Now, for a lot of our younger listeners who may not have been involved in the 1997 Point Blank style stuff, if you've been to the arcade and you've ever seen Police Trainer, where it's a double gun game and they put you through a bunch of little mini shooting games, you get promoted to sergeant or captain or whatever. I'm telling you, that game stole fizzy lifting drinks directly from Point Blank, because that game is Point Blank with a policeman theme strapped onto it. So if you've played Police Trainer, you've played a very similar game to Point Blank.
Yeah.
And I love Police Trainer. I think Police Trainer is one of my favorite light gun games ever. And I kind of missed Point Blank. I was out at sea a lot. I was in the Navy, and when Point Blank came out, I think I was gone a lot because I never got to play it.
Yeah, well, I've only encountered it once, to be honest with you, at Dave & Buster's. That was the only time I've seen it in an arcade.
Yeah.
And I was happy to see that. The PlayStation version was pretty much dead on. I mean, you had the gun cons that you got with the game. I ended up buying them separately, actually. I managed to find, at the time, separate gun cons, which is what the PlayStation used for the Namco light guns. It's very accurate because it plugged into the video component part of the little video slots, the RCA slots. So the accuracy was a lot nicer than just a simple infrared kind of, technology that at the time was pretty much off center, and you couldn't really calibrate it. With this, you could. It really worked well. Now, the interesting thing is about this, how does this come off in the DS? Because you're obviously not using a light gun. You're using your stylus in place of a light gun. And, as I said before, the game is more about reflexes than anything. You need to have the accuracy, sure. But more or less, you had to be very quick on the draw because of the time limit and the fact that a lot of times it's a two-player game, so you were competing. That's the meat of the game. You were competing against somebody else. And you were always trying to get to those targets before that person did. It's very similar to the whack-a-mole in the new Super Mario Brothers minigame, where you're like hitting a mole and it's like you see the green X come up and you're like, damn, I just missed it, So it's very similar to that, and it's all reflexes and speed. And I like to say it does pull it off very well, although you do lose, obviously. You don't have the light gun, so you're missing out on a little bit there. But I think what they did here, they really did pull it off. I was shocked. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
And one of the things they did too to kind of throw a little something extra into that is I can tell that a lot of the levels they spent a little extra time just kind of recalibrating them a little bit for your
Sped
improved
them up
accuracy with the stylus.
Sure.
So it's not like, they just did a straight port across and they didn't take into consideration, like we were talking about with shoehorning. They didn't shoehorn the game in. They spent the time and balanced the game.
Intelligently tried to figure out how they could make it for the DS.
And good for them.
Yeah,
they did a good job.
There's a lot of compensation involved. And, right off the bat, there's one common mini shooting gallery that I remember right off the bat from the PlayStation. It's almost like, the little loops that look like roller coaster tracks that have the targets just kind of going up and down them. That one there I remembered instantly from the old PlayStation ones. Now,
according to what the article said that I read, Point Blank DS is actually a culmination of games from all 3 Point Blanks.
Yeah.
So even if you were only a fan of Point Blank 3 and you never played the other two.
Oh, I've definitely seen a lot of them from the old Point Blank, like the ones where they're trying the UFOs trying to abduct the guy and Dr. Don and all. That one's right from the original, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, but what's really cool about that particular level with the little targets on the roller coaster, tracks. And of course, you have a red player and a blue player, and the red player can only shoot the red targets. The blue player can only shoot the blue targets. If you're the red player, you shoot the blue targets, you're going to lose one of your little misses. You have 3 little chances at the bottom. And if you lose all of them, game over. Your opponent's either going to win, or you're going to have to continue, or I think you might even lose some points, if I'm not mistaken. But the thing that's interesting is I've noticed alone on this mini game, the targets move at a lot faster rate than they do when you had the light gun on the original PlayStation one. And I think they compensated for the fact that it's a lot easier to sit and tap on a screen than it is to aim and fire at the screen. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Terms of just overall calibrating or just eyeing it up level with the screen. Tapping it, having the stylus maybe like a centimeter or a couple millimeters away from the screen, the stylus, is a lot easier to handle than sitting back on a couch maybe about 6 to 10 feet away with a light gun.
Yeah,
So, and I think they sped up or even made the targets maybe a little smaller to try to compensate for the difficulty and to make things feel a little more evened out, which is what you were saying, which is good. I mean, they took the time to do this.
Yeah, it definitely did a top-notch job. I mean, the only complaint I might have, and this is minuscule, is that some of the sound effects, like when they add up your points at the end, some of that stuff's gets really grating on your ears.
The music effects, especially when a round is over, is horribly annoying. I think it's like a 3-second sound loop over and over and over.
Yeah, that's and that's minor. I mean, don't let that detract you from enjoying the game. But it's like, man.
One other little thing I noticed real quick before I forget is the splash damage, which is something that a lot of shooter fans will know what I'm talking about. But like when you're playing Gradius, you're hit. How much you can get hit? You have your little ship in Gradius, and a lot of the games will let you kind of fudge your way around objects. You think you're going to hit something, but believe it or not, you're not. The wing of your ship may actually go through them to a point. You have this invisible umbrella of how much you're going to get hit by a bullet. You're thinking, wow, that bullet's going to hit me, but it ends up just clearing you by actually going through your ship. That kind of translates a little bit over to this, because when you tap on the touch screen for Point Blank of where you want to fire, that is exactly where the bullet's going to be. It doesn't give you any lenience. I mean, it doesn't allow you to, even if you're off just by a couple pixels, it's not going to let you have it. You got to be pretty dead on.
Yeah. And I kind of like that. I always get bugged when, because as a programmer, I know how they do that. They build masks around objects, and instead of doing a collision detection against an object,
exactly, collision detection,
they use the collision detection against the mask, which uses a lot less processor time. Sometimes, though, the mask isn't exactly right, and so the mask itself is smaller or bigger than the actual object. So sometimes there's a couple of shooters, like vertical shooters, I can't remember which one, that if the bullet hits just grazes by your front, you'll get hit.
Yeah. Oh, it happens a lot.
It didn't hit the pixel. It didn't hit the front of your ship. But this doesn't give you any of that sort of leniency, and I actually kind of appreciate that. I don't look at that as a bad
You've
thing
got to
at
be,
all.
you know, that's one of the things I'm saying. There's a lot of compensation because, you know, when you're firing with the light gun, you know, they kind of let you fudge it a little bit. You can be off just maybe a little bit, you know, just a tad, to the point where they're going to let you have it. But with the stylus, and you're tapping it right on the screen, they're not going to let you have it as much. You're going to have to be dead on. And, you know, some of these little games are very difficult because some of the targets are very small. So there is some difficulty here. You know,
absolutely.
Some games are easier than others, but then again, they ramp it up sometimes. They have what are called insane levels.
Yeah.
Where they'll take the actual original game that you may have played before and speed it up. Much like, you know, WarioWare, you know, once you get past like the first 20 or so, and it really ramps up faster, you know, so the insane levels, just everything's faster, or you'll have less bullets, you'll have less time, or things will just pop up faster.
Yeah,
like
you know that roller coaster level you were talking about?
Yeah, right.
If you get that on insane, the targets are half the size.
Yeah. And of course, when they go down the ramps, they speed up,
right?
Because gravity takes over. Or when they go up the ramps, they slow down. But when you put on insane, even harder to hit. And then you know, the Ninja Dojo, where you guys shoot the ninjas, they pop up and disappear faster and faster.
It's great.
So yeah,
I have a good time with Point Blank. I really do. It's one of my current infatuations. Actually, I play at least a little bit a day.
Yeah, if you're a big fan of, if you're any fan of the WarioWare series, especially WarioWare Touched, if you liked WarioWare Touched, or Rub Rabbits, or Feel the Magic, you know, any of those games where you're using the touch screen for any kind of puzzle or mini game elements, or even the Mario Brothers mini games, you know, this is going to be kind of up your alley. And I think those are the people that are really going to appreciate it the most.
Yeah, we all need as many mini games and party games as we can get our paws on, and this is, unfortunately, this only allows you to play 2 players, but it does give you the ability to use single card play, so you don't both have to have a copy. Unfortunately, they didn't take it the same way as, say, Tetris did, which is still the most brilliant local area multiplayer game out there. You have to play with 1 card. If both you and your friend both have Point Blank, one of you will still have to go to DS Download and play as a single card play.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a drag. I mean,
it's the download's not very quick.
It's not very fast.
Yeah, it's rather slow. But on the other hand, you know, I was actually surprised at how much you get out of it. I think there's about 4 different. You can choose from 4 different A, B, C, and D galleries to choose from. You know, and each one has 4 little shooting galleries themselves. So, you know, you're talking, you know, 16 different shooting galleries that you and another player can compete against with.
Yeah. Single card is definitely the bomb.
Yeah, it's good stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And, they give you a lot to go with, and, you know, like you said, single player. So, and, you know, that's the other thing. The game's been a little tough to find. So I can't imagine having, you know, somebody else finding it when you had a horrible enough time finding it yourself, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be the best places to get this thing. And I don't know if this is going to be a limited run game or not. We've gotten already a couple of people ask us, you know, is Point Blank going to be a limited edition thing? Do I need to race around and find them before they're gone? I don't know. I do know that the release date, I mean, it's different for everybody you ask. Best Buy has a release date of the 27th, but some of them had them on the shelves already. Amazon has it for July 13th.
Actually, Amazon at one point still had August 8th or something like that.
Yeah.
It's nutty. I mean, basically, to narrow it down, you're not going to find this at GameStop or EB. I've called at least 12 different EBs and GameStops, and even they're confused. You know, they say, well, we have it in our computer, but we never actually got any in. Now, if you go to their website,
pre-order them either.
No, right. If you go to their website, it says they're available in 24 hours. However, you know, I don't know about you, but I ain't paying no $6 to $9 shipping for a DS game.
Yeah, forget that crap.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to have it $29.99 and then shipping, but I ain't doing it.
Shipping should cost the same as tax. I should be able to go get it locally or mail order it and come up with the same price.
The only place I've seen it, and they only had 2 copies, was at Best Buy.
Yeah,
so
and I picked mine up at Fry's Electronics.
Right. Well, unfortunately, Fry's isn't everywhere. So.
No, Fry's is like nowhere.
Yeah,
but,
Best Buy, luckily, it seems like everybody's got a Best Buy. So that seems to be your best bet right now. Those are the 2 places that we know for sure is carrying this game.
And I guess people are selling it on eBay as well. So
yeah. Now this game also contains another mode, which seems more like getting back to it was shoehorned in a bit. I mean, it seems like it was more of an afterthought. There really isn't much going on here. You know, everybody's trying to jump on the whole brain training, brain age, big brain crap.
Mm-hmm. It's good stuff, but let's give it a break.
Yeah, Nintendo kind of got this ball rolling and is getting very successful with it, which is great. But now everybody and their mother is trying to come out with a game and jump in there, and somehow this game has nothing to do with brain age, and I don't understand what Namco is trying to do with this. It makes no sense to me. But
they even stole the little graph thing from Brain Age.
Academy. Big Brain. I noticed that.
I was like, whoa.
It's kind of that. What would that be? What is that thing?
I spent like 2 hours on Google trying to find out what the name of that graph is called. There's a special name for a graph like that, and I can't find it anywhere. Not even in the manuals do they tell you what type of a chart that is.
But basically, you have 5 points, and each point has a different label to it. Like
accuracy, speed,
right. Reflexes and so forth, stuff like that. And what it'll do is when you go through, you'll start this up. I believe it's called brain massage, which makes no sense. You're not massaging anything.
No.
It's the game, but yet they're basically rating you after you've performed the run of levels. I think it's about 4 or so they give you. They throw 4 random levels based on the category you chose, which is accuracy and so forth. And you go through all 4, and then you get the graph. And starting from the middle, the thing will branch out depending and go into that direction more towards how well you've performed overall. And so it doesn't really do a whole lot. And then it grades you.
Yeah, here are the categories. I got the booklet out.
Great.
Accuracy, judgment, reaction, attention, precision, and overall. Mm-hmm. So there's actually 6 on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of it's really a no-go little thing.
They even do what Brain Age does, or Big Brain Academy, and they give you a title.
Yeah,
ranking title, like Speed Walking Champion is what's here in the manual on
Museum
the picture.
Curator.
Museum Curator. That's my favorite.
I've actually gotten a Michelangelo, though, out of it.
So, you know what? I don't even know where
they
come
up
with that
means.
Stuff. I don't know where they come up with it. They give you a free play mode, which is also cool, where you can kind of walk through any scene that you want and go for a high score. So you got sort of that arcade beat my score type scenario.
I think you kind of have to unlock them, though, right? I mean, as you play them, I think it must unlock them in there.
I don't remember, to be honest with you. I thought that too, but then I thought I saw like all the games available, and I thought, well, that kind of sucks because I'll cheat.
Yeah, right.
So I've been playing only the arcade mode because I didn't want to see any levels that weren't
because when you start the arcade mode, you're given 4 different levels of difficulty. You're getting beginner, easy, medium, and hard. And the hard is just all insane levels. The beginner is 4 levels, and everything else is 8. So you're playing 8 consecutive levels. And the last one, the hard one, is just all insane, which means you're really going to need to have some skills in terms of speed and accuracy and reflexes to really pull it off. Some of them are very hard. Now,
I take that back. I looked at the free play mode while you were talking, and it looks like only the things that you've played are available in there.
Yeah, that's what I thought because
that's what it looks like.
I took a quick spin through that, and I noticed that only a few of them were there. I mean, certainly not all of them. Some of them were kind of like shaded out. But that's really cool. I think that's great that you can do that, and then you can just kind of compete against yourself.
Again, a lot like Mario.
Yeah, it's
like WarioWare, rather.
To round it down, I mean, this is just a big shooting gallery game of little touch mini games. So you're talking across between WarioWare Touched and something. They don't quite have the depth of the Mario mini games, though. This is more like WarioWare stuff here.
Yeah, exactly.
Quick, fast little things,
Fast mini games.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's come up with our ranking and move on to break them all. What do you think? Where's your stylus on this, Chris?
Well, I really do like this series, so it's kind of hard. I'm probably going to be a little more, forgiving. But I don't want to give it a I want to give it a stylus up, but at the same time, I want to recommend it, but it's obviously only for there's a certain group of people that are going to appreciate it more than others. I'm going to recommend it to the people who liked WarioWare Touched or the WarioWare series at whole, who enjoyed Feel the Magic or Rubbed Rabbits Rubbed Rabbits. That didn't sound good. Rubbed Rabbits.
Yeah. Smiling rabbit right there.
Any of those games where you're looking for a quick burst of touch, mindless fun. I'm going to recommend it for people like that. But overall, I think for the general public, it's probably going to be a middle stylus. Especially at the price range. I mean, there's a lot to do here, but it's really it's one of those things where you're going to come out of it and you're really not going to feel like you really achieved much. You're not gonna be rushing home to say, oh man, I can't wait to play some Point Blank. You know what I mean? I'm gonna give it a middle stylus. It's a good game. I recommend to anybody who's a big fan of the aforementioned games. So pick it up.
Yeah, the game would definitely it's a $29.95 game, and as we move forward on and games start getting a lot more healthy. Like if you look at Brain Age was $20, and I still haven't finished Sudoku on it yet.
Me either.
Yeah, there's a lot of value in there. How soon are you going to be tired of Point Blank? Well, I'm still playing it. I've had it for a week and a half, and I'm still playing, and I'm getting some good playtime out of it. But again, like Chris said, people who are looking for something a little more epic, a little more long term, it may wear off for you. To me, there's always room in my arsenal for quick Twitch gaming, and this definitely fills that. This is something that in a year I'll be able to pop in and just shoot a bunch of crap and still feel happy. So from a value perspective, $29 doesn't seem overkill. But as we've talked about in previous shows, there's a lot of other good stuff out there that might command your dollars first. If you don't have the new Super Mario Brothers, that's where your $29 needs to go. Plain and simple. So there's tons of different variables to look at. I'm also going to go with the level stylus this time around. Moving more towards the upper tier, I would say that if the price point was a little more, if the price point was $20, if it was $19.95,
yeah.
I would say that the value was definitely worth the cash. If you could pick it up used, like when it drops down to $19.95 or right in there, I'd say definitely a full stylus up. And as Chris said, it's a lot of fun, but
it's definitely a lot of fun. I'm having a good time with it. The multiplayer is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it may be something that this is the one time that Chris has gotten to play this multiplayer before me. I haven't gotten to play a multiplayer yet.
Yeah, I'm also a bit of a Namco whore too. I just love Namco. It's mainly old school Namco. I'm not
old
talking
Namco
like
kicks
I'm not talking
ass.
like Tales of Fantasia and crap like that. I'm talking about old Namco. I'm talking about like Mappy and
Mappy's it.
Yeah, I've always loved Pac-Man, and Assault, the tank game. I mean, Dragon Spirit. So, something like this is just it feels like old school Namco. So I kind of have a special place for it, and for me, this is something I just knew I had to have this, But if for just a normal person that may not really know much about this series or what's behind it, it's not something you're probably going to want to run out and buy.
It's a specialty game, definitely.
Yeah,
it's got a niche market
game,
to it.
Niche game, yeah. It's a good game. I can't put it on that upper tier of games that you need to run out and buy. This is one of those games that you're caught up and you got everything you want, and it's a lazy Sunday afternoon. You want to pick up a game. This would be something like that you'd maybe want to look into.
Yeah, especially with like the last about 2 weeks and the next 2 or 3 weeks, it's going to be slow. So a lot of people like myself have a certain kind of budget that we allocate. 3-4 games a month or whatever. You're not going to have 3 or 4 games a month for the month of June.
Right.
You're just not going to have it. We're going to talk about the coming attractions and reviews coming up next, but it's one of those things where it's like it looks better the less there is around it. And let's be honest, there's not a whole lot around it. We haven't seen much in June. We're not going to see much in the rest of June. And we're not going to see much till like the second week in July. So it's like, in that sort of scenario, it's like it looks better and better every time. It's definitely one of the better things that'll come out this month, guaranteed.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to pop that monthly reserve, because I know people are like that. It's like, man, I got some cash. I want a DS game. What should I get? Well, based on what's available this month, this is the game to get.
Yeah,
provided you've already got all the other stuff we've recommended.
Yeah, this time of month. This is probably the big game for the and even counting Sudoku. I haven't played Sudoku Gridmaster, but anybody who has Brain Age already has their fill of Sudoku at this point anyway.
Yeah, so. and we have actually taken a look at that other.
Yeah,
Sudoku
but as
Gridmaster, and let's be honest, like Chris said, if you've got Brain Age, you've got the best Sudoku game out there still. I haven't seen anything on Sudoku Mania, but the fact that it's random puzzles already makes me kind of shudder a little bit. So
yeah, and we haven't seen squat.
And we haven't seen any videos either. And we know the rule, the dual screen radio rule: no video, no sale.
That's right. No moolah.
No moolah.
One more thing I'd like to point out.
Yeah.
Horrible box art.
Yeah. What is that? I mean, literally, somebody took like
the character. I don't even know who these characters are.
The guy looks like Toucan Sam with a pair of headphones on.
I don't quite understand what this is about. I mean,
I'm very disappointed with the box art.
But usually the even the little bullet guy. I mean, he's not even really apparent throughout the game. You see him on the loading screen here and there, but Dr. Dan and Dr. Don are the big mascots for this game, and they're nowhere to be found on the box. And I
think they're on the back, aren't they? They're on the back of the box.
They should be on the front. It's a horrible cover.
Yeah, you got this gray-haired doctor dude on the front, Dr. B.
It's so
and then on the back, you've got like this Asian dude with flyaway hair.
I just don't understand where they get this. I mean, who is paying these people to do these boxes? I mean, there's so much talent out there, and they get these hacks that just dig up these stupid ass box covers, man.
You know what though? Most people don't give a rat's ass about the box covers.
Yeah,
I mean, you and I do, but
yes, but the point is, this game isn't really. This isn't a mainstream game. Most people would go in and say, "What the hell is Point Blank?" I mean, I know what it is. I mean, I played this game before.
Yeah, you would know looking at the cover what the hell this game was.
But for the ordinary public, that are on top of this stuff. They would go and look at this box and think, "What is this? This looks dumb."
Yeah, look at the box. Look at the front of the box for Break 'Em All, $20 title. You see a ball and you see bricks.
You know what's going to happen. You know what this game is just by looking at the box.
Exactly. It's like, Break 'Em All. This is Breakout. Sweet. I want it.
Right.
Look at I'm holding them right now together. I'm looking at it. Yeah. Point Blank DS. It looks like Toucan Sam's got Dr. Bunsen Honeydew under him, or you got Break 'Em All, which looks like pretty much a kick-ass breaking ball game.
Which leads us into our review of Break 'Em All.
Now, you like how I segued into that?
That was beautiful.
That's beautiful. So, before we segue into that, 2 middle styluses for Point Blank, recommended, but not overwhelmingly recommended.
Yes,
I guess, probably
yes.
The best way to do that. So,
average.
Break 'Em All. Break 'Em All. I can't believe, to be honest with you, that we have had to wait almost 2 years for Breakout on the frickin' DS. I mean, not even as a mini game. I haven't seen a Breakout mini game yet. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is going on? I mean, this is a natural. You've got.
Well, don't forget now. Hold on.
Okay, did I miss something?
Well, the Retro Atari pack.
Like I said, we have not seen a single. My God, the Retro Atari pack.
I was setting you up for that one.
That was great. That was a good setup too. Yeah, I don't even count that. Retro Atari doesn't even exist. I pretend that I don't own that cartridge because I bought it for like $12.
I have no son.
I had the goggles. They do nothing. That's such a horrible game. But we'll cover that another show. But this is the first time like a fully realized like Arkanoid type Breakout game has come out. With power ups and lots of diverse screens and multiplayer. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You've got touchscreen control, which means you can have pinpoint precision bat and ball style. You've got vertical orientation with 2 screens, but you never have to touch the top because there's bricks up there. That's a no-brainer. I mean, I can't understand why we don't have 50 frickin' Breakout games on the DS by now.
It blows your mind.
It blows my mind. And so Break 'Em All was kind of one of those ones that we heard about, last month?
Yeah, it just kind of came out of nowhere, and it makes you think, okay, what is this?
What is that?
And right off the bat, no pictures, especially no video.
No video.
So, and from a developer or a publisher or whatnot, that it's kind of like, who are you? So
D3 publisher, who's that?
this isn't Capcom, this isn't Konami, this isn't Nintendo. I mean, we don't know who this is. So
who that?
Of course, yeah. We're obviously on the fence a little bit here with binoculars, waiting and seeing what this is about. So, and that's why I was a little surprised when I actually found out when I got it home that this was actually a port from the Simple series in Japan.
We're getting a lot of those.
Yeah, they're like Sudoku Gridmaster is from the same series from Hudson that Nintendo's bringing here, translating themselves and publishing. This is the same case here, except different companies are involved. But it's something from the same series. I think there's about 6 or 7 Simple series. Billiards Action, which has been released in the UK, was another one. It was Simple game, and they're in Japan. They're basically 1999 budget titles, And they decided, well, it's minimal translation. Let's bring it over here. I don't even know if they translated it. I think it was in English over there too. You could tell because there's a lot of English involved in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm really impressed. For 1999, I wasn't expecting a whole lot, but this is really a fun little game, especially if you're a fan of Breakout or Arkanoid, or even the more recent PC time killer Ricochet. So it's about time we got something like this on the DS. It just seemed like a natural fit, as Shane said, for the stylus play. And one thing that I'd like to point out real quick is a lot of these review sites have kind of missed the fact that, yes, the D-pad does not work. There is no D-pad control in this game. But you can use the left and right triggers to move back and forth.
Yeah, it's totally unplayable that way, but you can do it.
It is. It's a lot of tapping accuracy, like tap, tap, just to get it right.
Have you ever played Breakout with a keyboard? Same thing.
Yeah.
You will want to take your own life. You
not.
will use the touchpad. It's that simple. The fact they even put it in just totally stuns me that you can actually play it with anything but the touchscreen.
Yeah. But it's really good, too. The range is really, really well done because you don't actually have to keep the stylus right over, like dead on top of the paddle leader. I mean, you could be a little bit above or just a little bit below, and it will still react.
You can be anywhere. I'm playing it right now, even as we're talking.
Great.
And you can keep the stylus anywhere you want on the screen. It only centers in on the X location of your stylus. Now, if you want to have your stylus in the middle of the screen, you can do it.
Now, what makes this quite interesting is that it's only on the bottom screen, the game playfield.
That was the one thing that made me scratch my head.
Yeah.
That made no sense to me. Why would you do that? It screams to me, Game Boy port. That's what that says to me.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I'm thinking, it would have been nice if they would have used the top screen. I mean,
they should have.
You would have had a really nice, vertical play field.
Yeah, I don't understand why they didn't do that.
I don't either. The top screen. I'll tell you what, though, they did fill the top screen they just loaded it with all this information. A lot of it useless, but I know a lot of people already that I'm reading in the forums are loving that the way it keeps track of all these stats. It's telling you everything about this game. The high score, the play time, the stage, and
it's a stat slut game, right?
Even in the bottom left corner of the play screen on the touch screen is a speedometer showing you how fast the ball is actually going to move.
Yeah, I think that's funny.
Now, what's great
miles
is
per hour.
The big interesting part of this game is it has power-ups. But the way the power-ups are used are unlike anything I've seen yet in a game of this type.
Absolutely.
Normally everybody's kind of, settled in with the whole, Arkanoid, okay, I hit a block, oh, there's a random power-up falling down, let me catch it. Not in this game. This game does not do any of that. What's really funny is that the power-up comparison that I can think of right away, as soon as I booted this game up, of all games, and prepare yourself, Gradius. It uses the same power-up scheme as Gradius, mostly the sequels to Gradius, which allowed you to customize your power-ups before you even took off and started the game. You were able to choose from a different array of what power-ups you wanted to go to. You had 4 different little slot categories. And what's great is this game allows you to do something similar. It'll start out with, oh man, I can't even list them all. There's at least maybe you have across the top. You have about 5 different power-ups.
There's 5. In fact, I can tell you right now, there's a total of 12 power-ups,
right.
And you get to pick 6 of them. But you don't get to pick any 6. They have things like fast and slow, and then you get to pick one of those too. And then they have things like catch or safety, which puts up a safety shield. So you get to pick one of those two. 3-way or 5-way. Laser or this. So basically, you get to choose from the 12. You get to choose 6 of them, but they have to be in the sort of like their own categories.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, you can just go and custom, and as you play the game, I believe it's points. As you hit the blocks, the more blocks you hit, the more it builds up your little power-up meter at the bottom. It's like in Gradius when you collect the little icons that would kind of knock up your power gauge till you got the you had to collect maybe about 4 or 5 of them to get to the option.
Right.
So you would just in this game you're hitting bricks until you build it up to the power up that you want, and then on the either side, left and right of the touch screen between kind of the bread part of the sandwich for the touch screen, you have a button for power up that you can tap on, and it'll just automatically select that power up. You can also use, I believe it's the Y button or the B button, to also select the power up. But most of the power ups are on kind of cloned from Arkanoid. You have the catch, which when the ball drops and it hits your bumper, it'll actually freeze and hold the ball, which you can then launch back upwards. Or you have the laser, which is always a favorite in Arkanoid because you could blow away the blocks by hitting the button. But the difference here is your ball actually turns into a big ball of fire and just kind of blazes right through the blocks as it hits it. Then the more blocks it hits, the more it's going to power down. So if it goes through a whole bunch of blocks, the flame's going to slowly kind of decrease in terms of size and power. So you get about maybe 2, 2.5, 3 at the very most bounces with the laser, and it just obliterates all the blocks in its path. So it's a little different, but the categories are a lot of things that you're going to see. The multi-ball, the speed up. The thing that's great about the speed up is you would think, why would you want to speed up the ball? The thing is here, the more accurate you are, the more points you're going to score overall because the ball is moving at a faster speed.
Yeah, and sometimes the ball gets really slow too. I mean, sometimes it gets to the point where it's like, hello, I just need a little bit more speed here. And sometimes too, when you get the ball trapped inside of a little area where there's a lot of bricks, you want to speed it up, to get the maximum coverage, maximum bang for your buck.
Now, I guess the next thing we should talk about are the different play modes.
Yes.
Now, the first play mode, right off the gate, is a challenge mode, which allows you to play 50, I believe, levels. It's just random. You can either choose, when you start that up, you can choose from random play, which will just kind of throw all the levels at you randomly, which is kind of nice because I remember back in the day when I used to play Alleyway, which had no kind of continue save or anything. You'd have to start from the very beginning. So it kind of started out a little boring, because you're starting out on those easy levels to always get higher up to where you left off, to where the real challenge began, because you already played through these easier, earlier levels. So what's nice is with the random option, you can choose to kind of just mix it up, so you'll never know which one you're going to get next, which I think really adds to a lot more infinite play value overall. So you have the challenge, which is 50 levels, all different types of levels to play through. And you also have, I believe it's called the quest mode, is it?
It's quest mode.
I'm still caught in Magnetica mode here. So
yeah, I know. I hear you.
It's very similar in terms of setup, the menu and the names. The quest mode is 12 different stages. And at the end, it's like a 12 stages, but in each stage, I think it's about 4 different little levels. And each level has its own subject at play here. You got fish. It's really hard to explain. Really weird stuff. A lot of Japanese English involved too. As you beat these 4 little sub-levels, you get to a boss character, which is really cool. You'll have I know the first one is you got that, shoot the core kind of thing from Gradius. You have this little red ball at the top that you have to hit with your ball. But in order to get through there, you have bricks blocking it. So you got to kind of edge away at those bricks in order to get the ball bounced into that center core to beat the boss. But meanwhile, the boss is throwing bricks down at you, which kind of bounce your ball back. So you got to be quick to, kind of ricochet it back off there and bank it to get it in the hole. So, I played a couple of stages of that, and the graphics seem to come off a little better there. The graphics overall are very reminiscent of an old Genesis game. Not that it really hurts because, the Genesis had some pretty decent graphics at the time, and, this is a budget title, so I wasn't expecting anything extravagant. And once again, it's the type of genre. You don't really see, you're not expecting a whole massive overload of graphics in this kind of genre. It's the exception of Ricochet, which really juiced it up in terms of, beauty.
Yeah, nothing like
really
overkill.
Overkill graphics, yeah, they really glorified it. A lot of stuff going on in the background that really distracts you. This is just very simplistic stuff.
And the survival mode is the other mode that's on here. And I can't say I like it. I've tried it in multiplayer mode. I tried it alone. And they kind of put you like in free space, and they give you a paddle that has some little nodes attached to it.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, you basically move around the screen. You protect your little, life blocks, as they call it. You try to send the blocks over to your enemies, and you try to be the last one to survive. It felt like they just kind of shoehorned that in at the end.
Yeah, it was I
can honestly say I would probably never play that again.
No, I was not a big fan. The one thing that's nice about it, though, is you can do single car play, I believe, with
Yes, you can.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool and everything, but it feels like it's almost like they tried to force a versus mode in there the best they could, and it really does not work, I don't think. It actually took me a little time to figure out how it even worked to begin with. It was a very strange little experiment, but overall though, I really did enjoy this game. I think, especially for the low price point, it's really a lot of fun, especially if you're into these type of games. What really impressed me overall is once again the power ups. It's just the way you could kind of custom make your own little power up grid.
Yeah, I pulled the booklet out so I could run through the power ups. And here's what we got. Here are the 12 power ups. These look like they are grouped properly. So your first grouping is slow and fast. Of course, decrease the ball speed, increase the ball speed. But when you speed it up, you actually get more points for each block.
Right, exactly.
When you're in fast mode.
Yeah.
The next two are catch and mirror. Of course, catch lets you, when the ball hits your paddle, it stops, and you can shoot it off whenever you feel like it. And mirror actually puts a little force field over your paddle, and it actually, instead of bouncing like real physics where it bounced off your paddle from left to right and it would bounce off to the left or bounce off to the right, whatever, it actually bounces it back the way it came. That's actually can be handy. I've actually used that. Then we've got the next two are multi and five-way. It's basically 3 balls and 5 balls. Safe and option. Safe puts a barrier under your paddle, which I love that. It's like ball save. And option, which makes a clone of your paddle where you activate the power-up. So you can actually put another copy of yourself on the screen. It sits there and acts as like a barrier.
Yeah, it's a little frozen extra paddle that, the way I like to use that is maybe put one on the left side or the far right, and that way you can kind of, put yourself over on the left side and you have a smaller area to cover, You can kind of cover that little missing space between the paddle that you put down and the opposing wall.
It helps
which is
out.
Kind of cool, yeah.
Then you've got wide and small, which extends the length of your paddle or decreases the length of your paddle, and I know what you're thinking. Who wants to make their paddle smaller? Well, when it's small, you get double points for every brick that you break.
Much like the fast and slow.
Much like the fast and slow. And finally, laser and bomb. Laser, as Chris already helpfully pointed out, allows the ball to pound through bricks as if they weren't even there. It does not ricochet off. And bomb, when you do, it bounces off, but it also blows up like 5 or 6 bricks around the one that you hit. So pretty standard power-ups. If you've played Arkanoid or any of these other games, you should be fairly comfortable with that.
And these power-ups come pretty easily, too. Pretty much right away you're already accumulating the power-ups that you can use at any time.
Go ahead, sorry.
They just ramp up really quickly. You're not going to be without a power-up very long once you use one. So.
Yeah, and something else that's kind of unique about this game, There's different types of bricks, too. And this is worth talking about because some of these things I've never seen in another breakout-style game. Of course, you have your standard, 1-hit blocks, 2-hit blocks, 3-hit blocks. But some of these require that you hit them on certain sides of the block. Some of the bricks you have to hit on the leftmost side or the rightmost side. Or you have trigger blocks, which will, when you hit this block, it removes other blocks. There's also magnetic blocks, which actually repel your ball away from them. So you got to hit them at a certain angle to get through their little magnetic field.
Yeah, and then some of them don't disappear at
all.
all.
Don't disappear at all.
They're invulnerable except for your laser ball.
Yeah. So again, some of these things we've seen, but some of them we haven't.
Yeah, and then I think it's the quest mode where you're actually not only trying to clear the blocks, you don't even have to clear all the blocks to complete it. There's actually an opening at the top of the level. That as long as you have a clear path to that opening, you're going to go to the next little sub-stage.
Yeah, I found that out. Yeah, you can break the blocks away from the exit and just zoom out the exit. You don't even have to wait around to finish the blocks.
Yeah, of course, obviously, you're going to be hurting yourself in terms of points, but
whatever.
For all you people that just like to rush through a game, there you have it.
Now, I'll tell you what, my wife is a huge fan of this game.
Mm-hmm.
She's always been a fan of fairly simplex type bat and ball games. She had a 5200 as a kid. Super Breakout was it. I look back at Super Breakout now
paddle.
And I want to throw a noose around my neck and kick the chair out because I've gotten so used to having power-ups. To me, these games aren't anything without power-ups.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And this game's got it all. It's got the power-ups. It's got the multi-bricks. And by the way, we misinformed you a little bit earlier. When you play the regular quest mode, or not the quest mode, but the regular challenge mode, you have 50 levels.
Right.
If you play in random mode, it randomly generates levels. They claim up to 3 million different levels you'll see in that mode.
Oh, I misunderstood.
Yeah, let me read that to you. Random play, over 3 million randomly generated levels.
Wow.
And Chris wasn't kidding. This thing holds stats for everything. And you can go to a records area and see what your high score was, how many blocks you broke in a certain game. It's stunning.
Wow, I've totally misinterpreted that random mode.
Dude, I thought it was the same thing. While we've been doing the review, I poked into the book. I mean, I haven't even looked at the book yet. I looked into the book, and sure enough, it's like, wow, 3 million.
Right.
So,
I thought it was just going to randomly pick the levels that were there. Amazing.
Random generation
wow,
levels.
That's good stuff.
And $19.99, folks. I mean, what do you want?
Yeah, obviously, this is another game where, if you've played Arkanoid or Alleyway on the Game Boy, I mean, then you're going to love this, But once again, it's a certain type of person that likes these kind of games. It's not a big genre, but it's a genre that people, you either take it or you leave it. So, I guess, what would you give it as what are you going to give it a rating?
Based on the fact that they took a tenner off of it, and it's $20, and the fact that you can have 3 million random generated levels, providing that's actually true, which, I mean, why would they lie, right? And the fact that you can choose all your weapons, I'm going to go with a stylus up. The price is right. The replay looks good. I'm having a great time. They didn't dink it up. They didn't shoehorn anything. I'm going to give it a stylus up.
Yeah, it's a great little game and well worth the cash. This is the game that's really turned me, for a little bit of a run because I gotta recommend it, but at the same time, it's not the game for everybody, just like Point Blank. But I am gonna give it a stylus up. But just be forewarned that if you are not a fan of these type of Arkanoid bat and ball games, then you're not gonna like anything here. This is the same old kind of thing. They've mixed it up a little bit with the power-ups, as we said, but you're going to know what to expect. But for $20, you can't beat it. It's a lot of fun. It's a good game, and it's very addicting. And finding out about the random generated levels now has just really pushed it over the top even more.
Yeah, so it's hard to argue when, it's sad when you get to the point where it's like, well, yeah, they didn't screw anything up, so let's give it a good rating. But
no, it's a polished game.
It's very polished.
Some of the music and the graphics are dull, but overall the gameplay is it's good stuff.
Yeah, this is, again, like I said at the beginning of this review, it's like, I can't believe we don't have 1 million of these things.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'm going to slap them around for is not using the second screen. And, maybe they did try. I could see that there being a little too much, like pool players call green, between the bricks and the paddle. Maybe there was too much downtime waiting for the ball to move up and down. So maybe they're smarter than we are by keeping the bricks down low instead of putting them up high.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you almost think maybe would it take too long for that ball to reach the top?
Yeah, how much time would you be not playing, waiting for the ball to move back and forth? So maybe I'm wrong.
I'm also wondering if maybe that little gap, that little missing field in the middle of the DS may have been something to play with this.
It could have.
Play. They could have maybe tried it and just said it doesn't work, because you're distracted that you're not going to know where the ball is going to come down. I mean, in pinball, it's one thing because the ball can go up there and kind of hang around the bumpers for a little while, but in a game like this, it can come back to you instantly. At all times. So I don't know. Maybe it just didn't work out, and I really can't explain it. But it would have been nice if maybe there was at least an option to turn that on. To change the screen mode. That would have been really cool.
That
would
have
been
cool.
As it stands, it's good. I mean, you could say, well, this could have been done on the Game Boy Advance, sure, but having the added functionality of the touchscreen and the stylus, control really does add to it. It really makes it play very well.
And if you end up picking this game up, if you want to see what we're talking about, put your stylus down and try to use the finger pad for the finger buttons, the left and right. Try to do that and play this game. Doesn't work.
Yeah, the left and right triggers are the only other method of this game. And
you can just hang it up. I mean, I think they left them in there just so you could see how bad it plays with them.
Yeah,
to be honest with you. The other thing too that we kind of didn't touch on too much was the multiplayer aspect. 2 to 8 players, single card and multi-card play. So they get a nudge up over Point Blank for that. But you'll find out that you can't play like the standard challenge mode with multiplayer. You can only play the quest mode, which has the 12 bad guys, as Chris already told you. Or you have to play that survival mode. And trust me, the survival mode, write it off. You're not even going to play that. So you can play up to 4 players in the quest mode, which I haven't gotten a chance to do yet. But I did play multiplayer in the survival mode and write it off as an unplayable multi-game. That they did kind of shoehorn in there. But the rest of the game, even if you took that out of the equation, forgot that it was in there, it's still a stylus up title. So
yeah, double stylus up for us.
Absolutely.
Break 'em all.
Break 'em all. From D3 Publisher, which even in itself is English. Shouldn't it be D3 Publishing or D3 Publisher? Just, I don't know. It sounds like English to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's funny when your
actual
a
little lost in translation there.
When your actual name, and this is funny, but they're technically called D3 Publisher of America Incorporated. That makes it even worse sounding. D3 Publisher. D3 Publishing of America. That works. D3 Publisher of America.
Yeah, just some of the text.
You know what? I don't care what you call your company. Screw you guys. If you guys make a good game, I don't care what you call yourself.
I'm all for it.
I'm all for it, too.
This is good stuff. So
this is good stuff. Alrighty, let's move on to what's out now and what might be worth your cash. The coming attractions, there's nothing coming before our next show, so we're going to skip that bit, but there's plenty for us to talk about that's out right now that might be worth your cash. Chris, you want to start with Point Blank DS?
All right, Point Blank DS, as we've already reviewed, is out. Came out actually a couple weeks ago, but it seems like it's a little difficult to track down. Although it's been coming more into appearance. At Fry's? You found yours at Fry's?
Yeah, Fry's always seems to have a copy of it.
Yeah, people are reporting quite a few of them being found at Fry's. So if you have a Fry's in your area and region, I know I don't. Be sure to check it out. I've seen a few at Best Buy. I'm sure there's probably plenty more now. GameStop and EB Games, I have still yet to see this game at either one of them. So I don't know what the story is there. I
did finally see one at EB Games in the mall. I did,
okay.
But I haven't seen one at any of my local ones. So
yeah,
I don't know what the deal is with that.
Very strange. Break 'em All is also out. It's another one that seems to be a little hard to find, more or less. I don't know. I've seen it at GameStop, and that's about it so far. I haven't seen it at Best Buy, although on the forums a couple people are reporting that Break 'em All is available at Best Buy.
Yeah, these seem to be kind of trickle releases, unlike the next couple of big releases on the list, like Sudoku Gridmaster, which came out, and we're going to give you a full review of that. I'll tell you, for those who are looking for that, Should I jump for it or should I not jump for it? Also being released, probably you already will have it if you've seen it on the shelf, but Sudoku Gridmaster and Sudoku Mania both came out during the course of us recording the show. And so we've had a lot of people asking, well, what's the best Sudoku? Do I get Brain Age? Do I get Sudoku Gridmaster? Do I get Sudoku Mania? I'm telling you right now, I picked up Sudoku Mania and run. Just run fast, run hard. Do not throw your $20 away on that. If you have the itch, let's say that Brain Games, you've already got Brain Games, and for some reason there's not enough puzzles for you, you've already finished the full 100, and you're looking for another Sudoku challenge. Gridmaster's pretty tight, very polished, very clean, and the only problem with it is if you're used to the notification on error, you're not going to get that, and there's no way to turn it on in Sudoku Gridmaster. But otherwise, handwriting recognition's pretty good. Yeah. The way it's laid out, everything is pretty decent. So if you got another 20 bones to throw at Sudoku, go with Sudoku Gridmaster out right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good bookend to Brain Age in terms of Sudoku. You know, once you finished up the Brain Age Sudoku levels, jump right over to Gridmaster if you're looking for more. There's 400 puzzles. And it's very well done. Hudson actually created the game, and Nintendo brought it over to America. Is publishing it. They tweaked it a little bit, but more or less it's the same old game that was released by Hudson in Japan as part of their Simple series. You know, so it's a budget title, and I was able actually to pick it up for $14.99 this week.
That's
thanks
great,
to the
man.
Circuit City $5 coupon from that a lot of people were made aware of thanks to CAG. I actually price matched the coupon from Toys R Us. So unfortunately that ends on the 30th. So I'm a little out of luck probably at this point by the time you hear this. But hey, it was on the forum for over a week now, so you had some. If you're not looking at the forum, then you know what, you snooze, you lose. You should be checking the forum.
That's what you're missing out on.
Sudoku Mania, I have not checked, but thanks to Shane's warning, I doubt I will be checking it out.
Yeah.
Especially since I got Gridmaster, and that's going to be enough to keep me busy for a long time.
Yeah, Gridmaster's pretty good stuff. I enjoy it. Now, what do you know about this hi, puffy, Amy, Yumi, Genie in the Lamp thing? Dude,
well,
I'm like...
I know it's got a long name, and it's kind of a stupid name. It's a really goofy name. I have no idea. I just know that this is, I think, a kids show on... it was either ABC Family or Fox Kids,
Network
something
or something
like that.
Yeah,
I don't really know what the whole story is. It's a kids game, which, hey, if the gameplay is good enough, you know, some of these kids games actually end up being pretty cool. I mean, you could argue that new Super Mario Brothers is a kid game. You know,
yeah.
So,
well, you know, I took a brief peek at it, and it looks a lot like one of your standard side-scroller beat-em-up type games where you use different... This is actually kind of interesting. So at some point in time, I'm probably going to look closer at it.
Yeah.
But on the bottom touch screen, you have a guitar, a close-up of the strings of a guitar, and how you strum the guitar, how you pick the strings of the guitar, charge up different types of weaponry or different types of attacks
modes
that you
and
can
so
do.
forth.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like, well, that's kind of interesting, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, graphically it looked okay.
Yeah, you know, you make up a good point. Actually, I'm surprised nobody's come out with some kind of a game based around a guitar yet. You know, even from the WarioWare Touch mini game. Well, you know, part of it you have to strum a guitar for a second, but
right.
You know, it's amazing that nobody's come up with a game yet where you have an interactive instrument such as a guitar.
No, aside from Electroplankton, that's, I guess, probably about as close as you get.
But I mean, you could actually strum the guitar and something will happen on the top screen, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. I mean, like
otherwise,
I
know nothing of the proproperty.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the IP at all, so.
I'm actually happy not to.
Yeah, me too, actually, because
it's not really my cup of tea.
It's not even worth getting into.
And I can say that because I still have the mentality of a kid. You know,
right.
I mean, you know, if you showed me something like Super Friends now, I'd be like, oh yeah, Super Friends, yeah. So. You know, I could say that myself, honestly, would I have watched this as a child? And I could still say yes or no, that I would have. So.
Yeah, exactly.
You know. We also got coming up. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, please, by all means.
6/27. It's already released. Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest. Another movie game. What the thing is, in this case, wow, shockingly, this game is actually pretty decent.
Yeah, it sure is. It's already tore through about 3 hours of my time.
Wow.
I put a lot of time into it. This
is
is
3D beat 'em up.
Yeah, it is a hack and slash game. There's absolutely no. Don't bother trying to make this into a role-playing game. Don't try to turn this into a platformer. This is a run-around hack and slash game with a tiny bit more depth. You could have almost maybe kind of related it to Diablo. Almost, kind of. Chronicles of Narnia still holds the title for closest to Diablo. But this is literally, you go from area to area, and you hack and slash. You have 4 or 5 different moves you can do. You have a super move that you have a savvy meter, and every time you do one of your super moves, it knocks your savvy meter down, which you have to replenish by doing combos and things like that. As a basic scrolling around beat 'em up game, it's actually fun. Don't look for any depth. Don't be looking for hard puzzles or any sort of real depth to the game. Look at it as a standard old action run around slash 'em game, and you'll be happy. And as a nice thing, this thing has a really decent 3D engine. I mean, the poly counts are low, let's be honest, but it still looks good. It's fairly smooth. I don't know what the reviewers were talking about with bad animation. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, and
maybe I was expecting less. I don't know.
I was thinking, and I said this to Shane. I mean, that'd be really cool if this was similar to how Tomb Raider was going to look on this. I mean, they could probably pull it off with this engine.
Yeah, the camera works like God of War does, and I'm sure there's a billion other games that use it too, but that's the one I have reference to. Where as you're running along, you do have free motion in the 3D area, but it's limited access. In other words, sometimes you'll be able to go up a staircase if there's something significant to do up there, but if there's not, then the engine doesn't let you up there.
So basically the game kind of chooses the best camera angle for you, but at the same time you're given a little bit of freedom based around that camera angle.
There's very few what I call like 3D turd effects. In other words, like textures don't mesh up, or you can see something behind a door because you can peek through the texture edge, walking through walls. I saw very few
clipping.
Of these. Clipping, that's the official term for it. But I kind of lump all the 3D oddities. Characters getting stuck on the edge of things. None of that seems to happen. There was a couple of times when I was able to walk through an opponent, which was like one time, not a big deal. And then there was one time where I was fighting some guys and I went behind a tree, and the camera followed me behind the tree, but the tree was in the way. So I wasn't able to see. I mean, literally it was like 5 steps to get out from behind there, and I could see again. But overall, for a 3D engine on the DS, this is going to be the one that we're going to be comparing to from now on.
Yeah, it looks pretty impressive. I mean, in terms of the DS's technology from that standpoint.
Yeah. So the price tag's a little high. It's one of the $34.95 games.
I saw it for $39.99.
Did you really? Oh my God!
How insane is that? And it's probably because of they got that Buena Vista Disney thing going on.
Yeah, everyone's got to take a cut. They got to pay.
Got to mark that up.
Yeah, they got to pay Disney, and it's that heavy IP thing, and is it worth $39? I don't know about any game worth $39, but
I don't think I'd pay $39 for any DS game.
The good part about this game, trust me, folks, the good part about this is that in about 3 weeks, used copies of it are going to turn up everywhere because it is they've tried to give you a lot of replay value, but the simple fact is once you go through this game once, that's all you're going to want to do it. And the mini games, they have 3 mini games, and not a single one of them are one of those things where you'd say, I'm going to carry the card around, so I'll play the mini games. Not true. Not like Super Mario 64.
Yeah.
The mini games were thrown in there at the end. They're not very good. There's one where you get to shoot a monkey point blank style, which is okay. There's another one where you got to shoot trash towards the other ship to sink it.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. And then they have a Simon game where you touch jewels.
It also has a co-op mode, if I'm not mistaken,
right? I haven't gotten a chance to test that yet. Now, that could be...
Well, it's not really a review. We're just kind of making...
Yeah, we're just trying to give you some ideas, because who knows when we're going to get a chance to look at Pirates next. There's so many things for us to talk about. But, so if this sounds really good, watch the video for a change. You actually have some video. Watch the video. See if it's up your alley. Of course, ask us questions on the forums. We'll be happy to answer about the title. If it sounds like something you like, it's definitely a decent game. It's definitely worth picking up. It's just a matter of whether the price works into your budget or not. And whether you're a fan of hack and slash games. I mean, if you're looking for some weird depth and stats and all that stuff, forget it.
Wait a minute, was that depth or dep?
Dep. If you're looking for some depth, you want to get some Johnny down, you get Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Dead Man Check.
Caribbean.
Well, that's about it for.
Yeah, it's a pretty slow and it's kind of a wasteland this week, I guess you could say. It's going to be a wasteland for at least the next couple of weeks, anyway. So.
Yeah, we got some stuff coming at the end of July, and then of course August is going to be a supreme month.
Oh yeah, the doldrums of summer. It's always slow during the summer for the software.
Yeah, fortunately we got tons of great games to play. I mean,
yeah.
I'm still playing freaking Magnetica, and I'm still playing Tetris. I'm still playing the imported Clubhouse games, which we'll tell you guys more about later. So there's tons of stuff to do. It's not like there's nothing to do.
It's a good time to kind of reach in and grab out one of those what I call rainy day games where it's something you picked up in the past but kind of put aside for something like New Super Mario Brothers. But now that you're done with New Super Mario Brothers or are itching for something in this quiet time, to kind of pick up and just enjoy a little bit now that all the big games have kind of come and gone. Yeah,
you notice the people in the forums are actually taking our advice and picking up Super Princess Peach. And they're talking about how that's becoming their rainy day game, and people are really enjoying it.
I like that. Yeah, that's great.
I think that's fantastic. I'm so glad that people are picking it up, and it might actually get its due because it's a great title.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to news, man. We got some good stuff in the news, too, man.
Yeah, we got quite a bit of news this week.
Well, why don't you start, Chris? Tell them about the DS they can't live without.
Yes, hot off the press, the pink DS Lite is going to be available, at least in Japan, very shortly. If not by the time you hear this. I'm not really sure what the release date is. I haven't got the full information on that yet, but it is coming. I guess we can update you in a little while, if not on the forums, as to what the actual date will be.
Yeah. For those of you who have young girls or whatever, or maybe pink's just your thing. Maybe you're a man of the 80s who's comfortable with their sexuality and
strapping young lad who loves
likes to listen to Village People. Maybe maybe a little Barry Manilow, and you're down with the pink DS. Maybe I don't know.
And hey, it will go very well with your copy of Super Princess Peach.
That's right. Look at that. There's somebody on the forum who's trying to deck out a DS Lite for Princess Peach. So.
Yeah.
Get that.
Hey,
you get
whatever floats your boat, dude.
Dude, whatever, man. Just buy a DS Lite and buy DS games. I don't care what color it is.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, actually,
I
got the date for that.
Oh, you did?
I just got the date. It is July 20th.
Ladies and gentlemen, hot off the press, we have the release date of the Pink DS. Comes with several tablets of OxyContin. Ladies and gentlemen, anyway.
It's going to be fighting for your wallet over Powder Puff Blue.
Yes. Yeah. So you'll have a choice. You can either have Ice Blue or Powder Puff Pink.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, go ahead and carry on. Chris has got more stuff at the beginning of this list, and I've got more stuff at the end. So
okay.
I'm going to chime in as we go.
Okay. Well, the Japanese company Brownie Brown, interesting name. There's a game that came out. I believe it was on. You know what? I don't know what system it came out originally on. I want to say it was the Game Boy Advance, maybe. It's called Magical Vacation. The sequel, Magical Vacation 2, is going to be coming to America as Magical Star Sign. Same game, different name. It's
Nintendo
coming out.
America never does that.
Yeah, exactly. The Magnetica debacle.
Yes.
Case in point. It's going to be published by Nintendo. The original title made it over to the U.S., but the sequel looks to be a promising RPG for the DS and is currently dated for release on October 23rd of this year. So check it out. The screenshots look interesting. It's all 2D. Really cool looking artwork. I really like that stuff. So, not the biggest fan of Japanese RPGs, but I know a lot of people are.
Yeah, and we apparently don't have enough of those out yet, so...
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm just not drawn to Japanese RPGs. The thing is, though, Final Fantasy III, though, looks like it could be really cool.
Yeah, me, and I'm not a big Final Fantasy fan. I might still have to look at that.
I remember renting the actual Final Fantasy, the first one, the Super Nintendo, which is, I think it was Final Fantasy II, the one with the red box. And I remember renting that for the weekend. I had a blast with that. And I think that's actually Final Fantasy IV in Japan but they brought it over to America as Final Fantasy. It's all confusing.
That's all very confusing.
Yes.
I've tried to follow that, and it's like you almost have to learn like a limerick to understand that.
Right.
You know how like in Britain they have to, in order to learn the succession of kings, they have a little song. In order to understand the succession of Final Fantasies, you have to have a song to understand.
The diehards know,
in Japan,
but
Final Fantasy 1.
I'm certainly not the diehard.
No.
And speaking of Final Fantasy 3, the remake has been confirmed to have Wi-Fi support. But the details, the full extent of that Wi-Fi support, unfortunately, are kind of under wraps at the moment. We don't know if maybe you'll be able to actually play with somebody else. Take that the wrong way. Or if you're going to be able to swap things.
Yeah, that doesn't sound any better, dude. Sorry.
That you'll be able to swap chocobos, which are the kind of the horses of the world of Final Fantasy, the big bird, yellow bird things.
It just doesn't get any better. The more you describe it, it still sounds terrible. The Atas. You can swap Atas. South Park fans know what I'm talking about.
So, anyway, do you want to take one of your stories next, or should I just continue?
Let's see here. Why don't you just keep going?
Okay, we kind of mixed-matched our news this week, so we're a little back and forth. Anyway, there was a recent interview via Game Informer magazine with the creator of Castlevania, Koji Igarashi. I think I did okay with that.
That's pretty good, man.
They were discussing the upcoming Castlevania Portrait of Ruin on the DS. It's going to be coming out, I believe, in October now. It was November, but it looks like it's been pushed to October, which I kind of figured it would be. I mean, it's the last one we had was in October. It's got the whole Halloween theme kind of going on for it. The interview was quite interesting because it had a couple things that were brought up that weren't really, they were new pieces of information. The fact that it's going to possibly have a cooperative two-player Wi-Fi mode, which I think could be kind of cool. I guess you could put it in terms of New Super Mario Brothers, the two-player mode, except you'll be able to play this online, which could be kind of neat. And also, the thing that I kind of like, and I'm sure a lot of people will be glad to hear, the game is going to probably lack a lot of stylus play that was found in Dawn of Sorrow, where you had to crush the blocks of ice like that few times in the game that really requires you to pull that stylus out. I mean, the game was 98%, directional pad. And, in those few times where you had to use the stylus after you beat the boss, it's kind of like, let me get the stylus out and beat the boss, or break the ice to make stairs. Hopefully this won't have those elements involved, and it doesn't sound like they will. So, I'm glad to hear that.
Well, they're listening to their customer, and that's what's important. If the majority speaks...
Yeah, we actually had a thread going on the proper way to play this game with the stylus, of all things.
Yeah.
I know. When I knew a boss was coming up, I actually got to the point where I'd pull the stylus out and kind of put it on my lips there, kind of poking out, so I could just pull it right out, or put it behind my ear, so I could just go right instead of having to slide it out and everything. But anyway, that's just some minor news, but I felt very important. Yes. Moving along, there's some interesting software coming out for the DS in Japan. Fairy tales. These old fairy tale stories, like Brother Grimm things and stories and whatnot, they're coming out. It looks like 3 different packages, and each one is going to have 3 different interactive fairy tales that are going to contain read-along text and pictures, along with like little puzzles kind of interspersed around each of the stories. Obviously, it's catered for the kids, but it's kind of neat in that you can teach your kids to read and interact, I guess, and kind of connect to them in terms of technology instead of pulling out a book. Maybe your kid's a heavy game player, and you want, even though he may only be 4 years old.
Hey man, don't laugh. I've seen that.
Yeah. What's really cool though is it looks like it's going to have an English option built into it. At least from the screenshots, there was some English and Japanese on the screen. So it might be kind of a cool way to learn the language. English and Japanese, vice versa. I would think over there. I know English is kind of a language in their school over there. So, I think that's just kind of one of the languages that's taught around the world as, a sort of prerequisite. Sort of like over here how you get Spanish, German, French. Over there, everybody gets English, French, Spanish, So, it's kind of an interesting little thing. We'll have links on here for the rec story link anyway. So you can kind of take a look at some of the screenshots involved. the story, the fairy tales seem to involve, the three little pigs, and although it's certainly a different three little pigs than I'm used to seeing.
Yeah, from what I understand, a lot of these fairy tales are their origins hail back to like Germany. And apparently some of these Brothers Grimm stories are. I mean, there's a reason why there's the word Grimm in there.
Yeah.
I mean, not just because that's the guy's name, but apparently some of these stories that Disney and Golden Books
they've cleaned them up.
They've cleaned them up considerably.
Yeah.
Now they're everything has a happy ending. Nobody gets baked or eaten or sliced up. But apparently, if you look at something like Three Blind Mice, just Google that. Pull up the words to Three Blind Mice. Come on, that's kind of creepy, dude.
It's dark stuff. I actually have the. It's a book of all the Grimm fairy tales in it. I got it at Barnes and Noble for like $9. It's a nice little soft-cover edition that I just wanted to have. It's kind of cool. Not that I'm going to sit and read it, back to front, but a lot of them they all got their little meanings to them, in terms of living your life and so forth. All the little, kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't meanings of how you should live your life. What this is good or this is bad, and teaches you some moral aspects of it. Anyway, that's going to be available in Japan, so I don't know if I'm importing it or not. But probably not. Let's see here. The Opera browser. We love the Opera browser for the DS.
I'm excited.
Looks really good, man. Lack of some things, unfortunately, but really, I mean, to me, people are complaining about the lack of flash and sound. But in all honesty, I think that's fantastic, because what uses sound and flash for the most part? Advertisements.
Yeah, things you don't want to see anyway.
Exactly. I mean, 90% of the time I'm looking on the web, it's going to be text-based anyway.
Why would you want to begrudge Nintendo for making cash? Because if you could actually play flash games in the Opera browser on the DS,
right? Yeah.
I mean, like look at Zookeeper, right? That's Bejeweled. Well, there's a flash version of Bejeweled. Ain't nobody can be selling Bejeweled, even for $14.99 under the name Zookeeper if you could play it for free on the Opera browser. So
right, I mean, heck, even same with Zuma, Magnetic, or there actually is a Flash version of Zoo Tycoon or Zookeeper. Jeez, I keep doing it.
Yeah.
I'm mixing one bad game with a decent game, and I should be doing it. But the Opera browser has been confirmed for a July 24th release in Japan at the price of 3,800 yen, which translates to roughly $33. It will be sold exclusively online, with two different versions being debuted, one for the original DS and one for the DS Lite. And the only difference is, it seems so far, is the cover art, which kind of differentiates which is which. But the included memory pack, there's going to be a memory pack that's included that's going to plug into the GBA port of your DS. The memory pack itself is going to be different sizes, in tune of the DS Lite and the DS, is what people like to call fat, the DS Fat. So
I'm still trying to make DS Classic take off, but it's not working. Everyone seems to like DS Fat better.
Fat, yeah, it's the hip word,
It's the hip word, P-H-A-T, it's fatty.
It's kind of, we're going against the current, I think, with that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, the differences are the size and the cartridge, the for each system, respectively. For instance, the DS Lite cart memory pack looks like it's going to be about the size of the little null cartridge, So,
Very exciting.
The link will be provided. It looks like some of the import sites like PlayAsia are already taking advanced orders for it, although it looks like to be like $49 on there. So
that's a little pricey.
Yeah, it's a little expensive, so we'll see what happens. It does look like it's going to have the English language involved. So
yeah, it's important. So far, everything I've seen means it'll be import friendly. And a lot of people are like, well, why on earth would I want a browser for the DS? The screens are so small. Well, let's just say, for example, let's say you're not going to do any sort of heavy browsing. What the Opera browser does enable you to do is get your DS online at hotspots here in the United States that require browser authentication.
Right.
Like all of the T-Mobile hotspots, which are pretty much exclusively in every single airport. You'll be able to use this. Starbucks and Barnes and Nobles. None of these give you the ability to hop on without browser authentication. So if you just want to, hop on, sit at the airport before you hop on your plane and play, you can't get on a T-Mobile hotspot. Well, with the browser, you'll be able to do the login and password and the whole bit. It'll have SSL. It's going to have CSS. It's going to be based on the Opera 8.54 engine. So,
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. I can't wait to see how this is going to play out. And it'd be nice just to be able to check your email or use something like MapQuest or something. On the go.
I don't know how many times it would have been handy for me driving around looking for some place because I'd forgot my map and I could just pull into a McDonald's parking lot and hop on their Wi-Fi.
Yeah, free Wi-Fi at McDonald's.
And you don't even have to go in. I mean, if you park near the entrance, you'll get on the Wi-Fi. You can get MapQuest. You can get your stuff, and you're good to go.
Wow.
I'm serious. That would be cool.
Obviously, everybody could say, well, wait, I can already do this on my PDA, and I think you know who we're talking about here, but
yeah, you know who you are.
Yes, but I don't know about you, but I tend to have my DS Lite with me pretty much wherever I go. If I'm out on the extended way, anywhere I know I'm going to be sitting around, I'm going to have it with me. And this is also with DS Lite is also a fraction of a cost of a Palm Pilot or a Pocket PC Mobile. So,
yeah.
I mean, this is something that you're going to use to play games, and it's not saying that this is the end all to be all, but it's something cool to have extra. To pop in your DS carrying case with you. The Opera browser, just to have it there as an option. So.
Absolutely.
Okay. Next on the list here of news items is we just had some random tidbits that I've kind of dug up. Obviously, by now, everybody in the UK is going to realize this, but the Black DS has been officially released. Fingerprints are very happy about this.
That's what I hear, too. I hear everyone's kind of pissed about how many fingerprints it pulls up.
Really upset about the fingerprints, which you kind of saw coming. I mean,
come on. Everyone's seen the PSP and how bad it pulls fingerprints.
Or the Black iPod.
You think that the DS would be exempt from that?
Exactly. New Super Mario Bros. Has sold 500,000 copies in the U.S. since its May 15th release.
That's beautiful.
And over 2 million DSs have sold in Europe so far. So that's pretty cool. Some pretty cool statistics there. Nintendo of Japan has a club over there. Okay, it's kind of like our little. I don't know. It used to be like the Nintendo Fun Club we had over here, but Japan's is a lot better than what we're ever going to get. I think so far we've got 3 free issues of Nintendo Power. You got that pointy finger thing, which
I got the touching is good. Disembodied
no
hand.
idea what that's about. No idea what that's about.
Yeah, I gotta have to find that.
Could you? I guess that's something that you could kind of. It's not pointing a finger or anything, right? It's just a hand.
Yeah, it's just a hand. It may be pointing. I don't remember.
I was gonna say you could kind of say, well, this is like a Phoenix Wright thing, objection. Point that thing around.
Exactly.
But other than that, in the Kirby, the pink stylus, we haven't got squat. I register my games like a madman. Whenever I get them, popping them on there. So far, the only thing I've gotten back is my Kirby stylus and my monthly. Would you like to take a survey based on buying new Super Mario Brothers? And of course, like a gullible fool, I do them thinking, well, maybe this time if I do this, I'll get something in return. Even some stickers would be cool. But anyway, Nintendo of Japan has this huge network catalog of things that you can trade in points for. The points come with each of the games Nintendo put out. Depending on what system you get, the bigger the points. So if you get a GameCube game, it's going to be you're going to get more points for that game versus, say, a Game Boy Advance game. But then again, the DS is kind of somewhere in the middle, So you get to apply these points to all these really cool items, and these aren't real cheap little doohickeys that you're not going to find at some cheap store. These are really nice looking quality items. Now, the thing that's really cool, I can go on all day about this, but the one thing I would like to point out in terms of the DS is there is a Game & Watch collection. It's not a huge Game & Watch collection like we've seen in the past Game Boy and Game Boy Advance editions, but it looks like it's got about 3 games in there. And how cool would it be to have this come out over here in America? And I'm hoping that this is maybe leading into Nintendo developing a full-fledged Game & Watch collection for the DS. I mean, it's perfectly suited for this system with the 2 screens, since most of these games had the 2 screens to begin with. I think about 80% of them at least. You had a few like Donkey Kong Jr. or Manhole that had single screens, but a lot of them had the double screen, and it's more or less what the DS was based upon, that whole 2-screen technology. So I'm really hoping that this gets a U.S. release, even as a 3-game, maybe some kind of a Nintendo Power mail-in feature. I don't know, whatever. I just hope they release a nice big collection of it at some point. So the link for that is on the website. You can check out some of the cool swag that you can pick up in Japan from Nintendo.
Swag.
I love that word, yeah.
That's a good word.
Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah.
Pirated copies of the DS carts are already popping up on eBay. So if you're buying games from eBay, sight unseen, especially without the box and the logo or the artwork, instruction manual, just the cartridge itself, you may be a little weary on it. We got the link there. It's from the site called Four Color Rebellion. They've got some interesting news once in the blue moon. So check that out.
Yeah.
So, I guess you want to move on to some of the news that you've...
I'm finally in the conversation here.
Well, you could have popped in
I
any
know.
time.
I'm letting you go.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we have a lot... Nice. We have a lot of people write to us a lot about homebrew and how they can run homebrew and what sort of products they need and what's the problem with this product and that product. And we've been trying to keep the forums as pure from legally gray stuff, shall we say. Homebrew's technically legally gray, but it's really not because homebrew's not illegal, but hacking your DS to play it might be illegal, depending on what country you're in, blah, 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 blah. So we talked about the Max Media launcher on a previous show, and we finally found a product has finally showed up that delivers homebrew with no flashing and no side effects that we have been able to determine. And these include things like breaking sleep mode, what are some of the other things? Weird artifacting on the screens after your reboot, like the MML did. So this is from the makers of the Supercard, the stuff that we talk about playing homebrew off of. And we do have a review of it up for you on our forums, and we'll give you a link to that. We'll show you where you can get one of these things. And before I, pass on the rest of the story here, I do want to let you know that one of the reasons why people want to flash their DS, not just so that they can run homebrew and they don't have to have one of these sort of devices in their DS slot, is because once you have upgraded your firmware using the flash process, your DS is protected against malware that can actually go in and monkey with your firmware. For example, when you set your Wi-Fi settings in your Wi-Fi connection screens in your games, that actually saves that into the firmware. Well, if you download a piece of homebrew that's poorly coded or intentionally malignant in nature, it can go in there and write a certain amount to your firmware, which will basically turn your DS into a shiny $130 brick.
Now, somebody's already released something like that already, right?
Yeah, we did early on.
The possibility is out there for this to happen.
And it has already happened once. And, most people are like, well, it was an isolated incident, and it's not going to happen again. I call BS on that, folks, because there are a lot of PSP lovers out there. There are a lot of people that would like to see Nintendo fall. There's a lot of people that have absolutely nothing better to do than circulate this goofy crap. And, it's not always intentional.
Evil monkey.
Yeah, the evil monkey in the closet did it. But and not everybody's doing it maliciously. I mean, somebody could write a piece of code. I've already seen homebrew stuff that scrambles your your SD card and your supercard, your compact flash card.
That sucks.
It's not intentional, but it's homebrew, and it's homebrew on a system that's not designed to do homebrew. And anytime you buck the system, you're going to have problems. Something's going to arise. And so, while the Super Key with a Supercard gives you the complete opportunity to play your DS homebrew stuff, I would definitely recommend looking at the different possibilities of flashing your DS versus just using this. And to not, continue to dwell on the topic, but we have tons of discussion about this up on the forums. So get yourself educated before you race out and buy a Super Key so that you understand the risks and the rewards that you got going on.
Yeah, cause I think something like this is a lot better to read about anyway. You can sit and compare notes and, because we have the discussions going on with the MML and the Super Key and whatnot, so you can kind of jump back and forth and kind of get an idea a little better. There's a lot of stuff to cover with something like this.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot easier to sit and read and take notes over.
Well, next up, a lot of people have been keeping their eye out on this Mech Assault Phantom War, which looks like it's shaping up to be this year's Metroid Prime Hunters equivalent. These guys have been working their butt off trying to squeak every possible ounce of DS performance to bring you what is essentially a fairly high-end Xbox title onto your DS. And
it looks pretty decent.
I'm telling you, these guys aren't shy about releasing video, and we'll give you a link to the brand new trailer. And they have development diaries and all this other crap going on at IGN.com where you can follow what's going on.
Yeah.
These guys, it's looking good. I mean, I'm not a mech fan. I'm certainly not a fan of, Microsoft's Xbox gaming in general. But God, this looks so good. I might have to get in on this. This looks good.
Yeah, Mechasalt was pretty cool on the Xbox. I actually was I didn't play the sequel so much, but the original was actually a pretty decent game. I had a lot of fun with it. It was just great walking around blowing up buildings. You'd be firefighting across the city with an enemy mech. And in the middle of the two of you is this big metropolis that is just, demolishing everywhere. Glass is flying all over the place. Smoke is rising. And it was really detailed stuff. And it was a lot of fun just, wailing down on a machine gun at the other mech while the bullets are just smashing through windows, trying to hit them. And from the video, it looks like they've really done a very nice job capturing the essence of the game. Now, a lot of games, DS games especially, look much better on the screen themselves. And the fact that these guys are pulling their own pants down and showing us, unlike some people with Sudoku Mania,
exactly,
what this game is about, and it gives a lot of credit. I'm glad that they're not falling into this whole no video, no sale thing. So really good stuff. And the screenshots kind of left me on the fence, but the video is making me lean a little more over the fence into the purchasing side. So we'll see
it looks
what
exciting.
happens.
Looks exciting.
Yeah. The video, there's a link to it on there thanks to IGN. So check it out on the website.
Cool. Okay. Well, next up is there's a Circuit City sale. I'm not a huge Circuit City fan, but apparently either right now or July 7th, something like that.
Well, actually, this sale has been going on for at least maybe a week now, just about a week. I think it started last weekend, which would have been the 22nd. So. There's a listing, and it's on the forums. It originated rather from Cheap Ass Gamer, CAG, and it's a listing of clearance games for all the systems, basically every system that's on sale right now. Nintendo GameCube, the Nintendo DS, the Game Boy Advance, the PS2, PSP even has a couple. There's a lot of clearance games that are coming up to be $8.96. Now, the thing is, all these games, they're not going to be marked on the tags. They're going to have their original prices on them. A couple of them even had like $19.99, $29.99 on them. But once you get them to the register, they ring up for $8.96. If you check our forum, it's the same link copied over from Cheap Ass Gamer, one of our forum posters. He's on both sides of the forums there. He's over on ours and theirs, so I figured it'd be okay to put it on there. You might want to check it out and see what you can pick up.
Yeah, a lot of it's trash, but there's a couple of decent titles in there. Advance Wars for a lot of people is the holy grail of picking that up.
Oh, definitely.
And there's a couple other titles too, right? There's some higher end stuff in there.
Well, FIFA, I know FIFA 06 is in there.
Yeah, see that's a good pickup right there. That's
and Metroid Prime Pinball is in there. That right there is a steal, just based on the fact that the included Rumble Pack sells for $9.99 separately as it is.
Yeah, there you go. It's just a no-brainer.
It's good. And the one more quick thing is, finding these right now as we speak, is going to be a little more difficult because the word is they've taken all these games off the rack because this sale is technically not supposed to start until July the 4th. It's supposed to be their big Independence Day clearance sale. And, so if anything, you're going to want to wait for that time and jump on this. But in the meantime, check it out and see if you can get anything a little more behind, ahead of time. I know I managed to pick up Dig Dug and Polarium, which doesn't seem like a whole lot, but I already had most of the other games on there I wanted anyway. So,
yeah, well, there you have it.
Yep.
A lot of people are waiting for the new Phoenix Wright Justice for All, which is slated to come out in January of 2007. Got to wait till after Christmas, which is too bad because my wife's pining away waiting for it. She's a big Phoenix Wright fan. So she's desperate. Hopefully, Hotel Dusk.
Hotel Dusk.
Hotel Dusk. There you go. Will alleviate her needs for an adventure mystery type game on the DS till this comes out. They released a new trailer that looks pretty good. It shows some of the things we're already familiar with Phoenix Wright and a few new things. So
Cool.
that's very cool.
You know what else looks pretty cool? Speaking of Phoenix Wright and Hotel Dusk, and in that kind of like graphic adventure kind of thing is that Project Hacker, which
Project Hacker looks pretty good too.
I hope that gets released here. I mean, it looks like there's a ton of text to translate, but let's keep our fingers crossed. It looks very interesting.
The localization stuff takes forever.
Yeah.
I ran across an interesting article at, strangely enough, it was at gameboy.ign.com, not on Wii.ign or DS.ign, even though it's pretty much all about the Wii and the DS. I don't know what they're thinking on that one. I just managed to stumble across it, but it has a management meeting with the two big guys over at Nintendo, and they discuss a lot of good stuff that I know you're going to be interested in. A lot of Wii stuff at the beginning, but they talk about the DS Lite shortages in Japan, what they're looking for in terms of marketing for the DS, how long they're going to keep it on the market, what their strategy is, why the first-party stuff sells so well, better than the third-party stuff. It's a fascinating. It's like 7 pages. It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. Huge read.
But it is definitely worth it if you're at all interested in what the top brass at Nintendo are thinking and what they're doing and what's going on. Then this is the article for you.
Yeah, so print it out and take it to the crapper with you.
Yeah, it's good crapper reading to be sure. Good stuff. Just a couple more little tiny things. Did you want to cover any of this stuff, or you just want me to buzz them?
No, well, I mean, let's see. I'll take the one anyway.
Okay.
The upcoming Kirby DS, as it's been known currently, is its official name is going to be Kirby Squeak Squad.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. Kirby DS sounded a little bit better, but how about Kirby Death Squad?
Yeah, Death Squad. Right,
Death Squad would have been perfect.
The DS abbreviation.
I don't know. It's Kirby, so I guess they can't use the word death in the title anywhere.
Digital suckage,
Digital suckage. Let's hope it's not
in.
digital suckage.
Well, the one I found out recently, thanks to the new Nintendo Power, that the one I think it's the touchscreen is actually going to represent his stomach. So
I don't know, man. I may have to look close at that one before I pick that one up.
A little strange.
Yeah, it sounds a little strange. I've been busy away capturing video, and as of late, the latest import craze, at least around here, is Clubhouse games. And if you really want to know what that stands for, you can look it up. It's some big, long Japanese name, which I'll never be able to pronounce anyway.
It's like Dare Demo something?
Yeah, Dare Demo. There's tons of Dare Demo. That must be something really common. I don't know what Dare Demo means, but if you look around, there's tons of Dare Demo, blah, 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 blah.
Dude, I'll tell you, the Nintendo DS is making me want to just learn how to read Japanese.
Isn't that crazy? I want to learn Japanese just so I can play imports better. That's nuts.
Not talk it, but just
Yeah, I don't want to be able to speak it. I just want to be able to grope my way through the screens and the instructions and whatnot. But anyway, Clubhouse games, the highly anticipated 40+ Clubhouse style gaming on the Wi-Fi service is due to come out, I think, October 9th. Sometime in October, maybe it's the 21st.
Yeah, it's coming. It's kind of coming almost towards the end of the year, but not quite.
And there's a lot of things to translate. That's why it's taking so long. But if you can actually import this, I think off PlayAsia, and there's a ton of stuff that's very playable. And so not only did I take some video because people wanted to see how do you play darts on the DS? How does that work? Well, I recorded 10 minutes of video play of darts, Go, bowling, the billiard game, the golf game, the shuffleboard game that's in there, a couple of card games, and that's up at YouTube if you search for it. We also will provide you with a link as well, so you can watch the video and see exactly what's coming. I'm telling you, this is probably on the top of the most anticipated games for the rest of the year for me because we are complete sluts for card games here, multiplayer card games, Crazy 8, Solitaire, Speed. There's an amazing amount of games in this thing. There's 42.
Bowling's in there.
Bowling.
Does it have checkers and chess?
Checkers, chess, backgammon, Chinese checkers, which is probably politically incorrect now. So one that you play on the triangles, and you got to get your pieces from one side of the star to the other side of the star. You know what I'm talking about?
Is there a mahjong in there?
There's some kind of weird tile game, but no
Yeah.
Japanese, no ready that.
And of course, Go is in there.
Goes in there, which is huge. There's a Pente variant of some sort, a 4-across variant.
Mm-hmm.
There's just tons of games in there. You guys are going to go nuts. And like I said, it's all Wi-Fi playable, up to 8 players on a single card. Darts, I know, has many variations. 301, 501, 10-dart play.
The darts look really cool. I mean, it looks like it almost uses a control scheme. The first thing I thought of was True Swing Golf, in terms of,
It's brilliant.
trying to figure out your trajectory and
You guys,
speed and
trust me, this is going to be one of the best holiday games this year.
cool stuff.
And
Man.
especially with this whole, touch generation, non-gamer gaming type stuff, this is going to be it.
Yeah, the people who picked up Brain Age are going to be all over this.
You guys are going to lose your minds.
If you're looking to import it, it's actually Daredemo Asobi Kaizen.
Oh, well, there you go. See, you did a
That's
good
the
job. I
Japanese.
wouldn't have done that good.
I don't know if I did that good.
Well, yeah, somebody will write
Somebody
it and
will
tell us.
pick it out, yeah. You suck with Japanese. Well, we never claimed to have been an expert.
And the last little tidbit that we have for you on Touch and Go is another video, not captured by me, but a new, I guess you call it a pinball game, although it's kind of straying more into that kind of cross between video game and pinball game, sort of like Baby Pac-Man, only not. Flipper Critters released a new video showing actual in-game play. Lots of mini-games apparently to unlock. It's got this weird... You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the old Sierra pinball games,
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Prehistoric pinball.
Right.
More...
I think there was a racing one in there, too.
There was, too, yeah. And it's like, ooh, these aren't really pinball. They're not really video games. Who are they looking for to play these? But you know what? I'm such a slut for, bat and ball games. This is, even if it's a bat and ball game, I might like it. But anyway, we have some video. It looks very clean. So whatever they're doing, they've got a decent engine. But we'll just have to see how the game plays.
I'm not real sold on it so far. Any of these pinball games that make it hard to see the ball,
Yeah,
because
or
they
they move
overdid
around
the
a lot.
effects. Yeah.
That's as bad as scrolling as far as I'm concerned. If you have to change play fields constantly, it's...
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. It could be all right. Well, hey, we got a brand new segment this show. Yes, you've heard it here first. And Chris gets all the credit for coming up with the name for this because this is absolutely brilliant. We're going to take every show, we're going to take one of our listener feedback emails and read them to you here on the air. This first one this month is very long, but I found, Chris and I were talking about whether we should edit it down, but it's like, I got to read this in toto because it's actually important. I kept looking for things I'd want to trim out and I couldn't. But Chris, you know what? You deserve the honor of telling them what this new segment's called.
It's called a DSR, dual screen radio, of course. Mail sack.
Mail sack. Is that the best ever?
It's just simple, to the point.
That's right.
Because at first we were thinking, okay, what can we come up with? I mean, the new segment's Touch and Go, which is obviously a little bit of a reference to Yoshi, but also kind of just dwells upon the whole, touching of the Nintendo DS aspect. But, we wanted something simple, so mail sack seemed to be the thing, and it kind of went along with our, man sack, jokes that we seem to come up with every episode.
Man clutch, man purse,
man
sack,
exactly.
Mail sack. It's a natural transition if you think about it.
So, instead of something real goofy, real long, something straight to the point. DSLR mail sack.
The mail sack, yeah.
And then we could say, hey, we're going to dip into the mail sack this week. Dude,
it just keeps getting better.
Yeah, so, what we're going to do is, like Shane said, we're going to take the maybe one, maybe two, it depends on the length, of the best emails that we thought we've gotten. We've been getting on and off. We get mail here and there, and some days we'll have more than others. And, some of this more interesting than others. Some of it's kind of a little daft. But, then once in a while you'll get a real good email. So we're thinking, why don't we start putting some of these on the air? Yeah, I think people would appreciate it and, maybe appreciate hearing their letter being mentioned on the air and what's being said in it, So.
Yeah, maybe get us some feedback. I'm surprised. I mean, we got the forum to get a lot of the feedback. We don't get nearly as much feedback as I would have expected we would have gotten. But then again, I think too many people don't go to the website. They don't go to the forums, and so they're pulling these shows down. They don't even know how to reach us because they're not going to go to the website. They're not going to go to the forums. So I think that's why we don't get a lot of feedback.
iTunes-itis, they just suck them down and move along.
Moving along. Too much to see.
So should I do the honors here, or
do you want to read? I don't care, dude. It's totally up to you.
Okay, well, how about I read it this week and you read it next week?
There you go.
Okay.
You see how far we plan these shows out ahead of time. We're so well organized.
Okay, well, our first ever DSR mail sack, and let me reach in here.
Hey, get your hands out. Oh, sorry, never mind.
Get something out of the mail sack.
I think
Okay.
What you're looking for is a little to the right.
Yeah. Okay, our first ever email from the mail sack is from Megan. And she has to say, "Hey guys, I've been listening to your podcast for the past few days, and I'm really enjoying the show. Keep up the good work." Thank you, Megan.
Always nice to start with a compliment.
Yes, I appreciate that. That'll get you right on the air. Anyway, that's the email
Oh, you have
this
to
week.
be, if you're female, you get on the air right away, too.
Yeah, so
Melissa,
especially
if you're listening, send in a letter and we'll tell you. Sorry, couldn't
yes. If you have a feminine name, then you're probably in there. Okay.
Sorry. Please, don't let me interrupt.
Okay, anyway, she goes on. "I wanted to write and sing the praises of the new Nintendo DS Lite. I am not a gaming person," and she puts that in caps, not. "I don't know if other females feel the same way." Well, I can tell you right off the bat, they do. My wife and Shane's, of course, they feel that way. Anyway, moving on back to her letter here. "But I never understood the appeal of video games in general. They never seemed geared towards my personal tastes. And making a game pink, so I will play it, doesn't really work. So I never gave them a second thought. I grew up watching my younger brother glued to TV, playing various games on various systems. I tried Mario Brothers and thought that was cool, but that's as far as I got. Fast forward to June 2006. I was browsing our local Future Shop here in Canada when I noticed the Nintendo DS section. I have periods of downtime on my job, and I thought this might be a fun way of discreetly killing time. I didn't think I would like any of the games, but I noticed that they at least had Mario and Tetris. So if that's all I got, I would be content. Hear, hear. It had been a week now since my DS Lite purchase, and I am stunned. Nintendo has progressed in leaps and bounds. I love the way the new handheld device looks, feels, and its interactive touchscreen is a stroke of genius. Games are also really different also. Okay. There are so many options, and they are obviously targeting a wider audience now, finally. I am actually hooked on a few games and can't put them down. A first for me. I wish they had done this sooner because now I get, quote unquote, why my brother was so hooked. This is actually fun now. I hope that this continues to be a trend and there will be more and more games that I can enjoy. I will be listening for game product reviews in the future. Good luck with the show, guys. Once again, that was by Megan. Thank you, Megan.
Great letter, man.
I thought that was really cool. Yeah, I mean, it's somebody who had really no interest in gaming. I doesn't say her age. I assume she's a little older since she said she's got a younger brother who was glued to the TV, but it was just really nice. It's nice to hear that people that Nintendo is kind of bringing people back into the fold of trying out video games. I think there's like that whole kind of I don't know how to explain it, but you get people I think who reach a certain age and they feel that they shouldn't be doing certain things anymore.
Like playing video games?
Like playing video games or reading comic books,
Right.
Or reading the funnies in the Sunday paper, things like that. Saying, well, wait, I can't be doing that anymore. I'm 85 years old. I can't be playing video games. I need to be playing bingo, I may not like bingo, but that's what my age group tells me I must do now. So I'm sorry, I cannot enjoy brain age. It's some people get it and some people don't. I mean, there's even people our age they seem to think, well, games are for kids. I played games sure when I was a kid, but that's enough of that.
When I was a child, I thought as a child.
Right. Well, some of us still do.
Yeah, I still do. I mean,
within limits. But
my DS Lite, I don't think leaves anywhere, outside of my arm reach. I take it back to bed, even if I'm not planning on playing, and take it to the crapper, even if I'm not planning on playing. You never know. It just may get time.
Right.
But yeah, so anyway, if you'd like to have your letter read on the air, just drop us a line through the website's comment section, and we'll see who produces the best letter. I mean, you don't have to kiss ass or anything to get.
No. Just ignore the fact that she's saying keep up the good work and good luck. All these times. That had nothing to do with it. Neither did the word, Megan being in the from section of the email.
That's
right.
right.
As long as it's insightful or, smartly written, you'll get it up there,
Yeah, eventually, we'll queue things up. It's not like if you don't write within the next 2 weeks, you'll never appear on a show. Things can get slow, and like I said, we might end up reading more. This one was just a nice
I thought it was
start.
really cool. Yeah, and as long as you're not writing us, hey guys, where do you guys get ROMs or,
Yeah,
Lee,
ROMs will work.
thanks, okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks, and lots. The first time you start typing
Oh my
in cell
God,
phone
lol.
text entry, that just disqualifies your letter. I don't care how insightful your letter is. If you spell, you like YOU as
If
the
you
word,
use single
the letter
letters
U,
for words, let's put it that way.
that just raises my hackles. So probably will not be in the consideration.
You don't want Shane to cite paragraph 5 on the show.
Paragraph 5 for you forum dwellers. You know what I'm talking
great.
about. Well, let's talk about, to wrap up the show here, we got lots of new things going up on the website. I like to kind of finish things up with what's going on there. First of all, our forums have just been growing like exponentially. It's not uncommon to see 2 full pages of new posts every day when you go up there. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really cool
how much traffic has been going through there. And we've gotten a lot of great people. We've got a couple of paragraph 5 abusers, but everyone seems to be respectful of the forum rules, and I think it's just making it a better place for everybody, and it's really cool. We're getting all sorts of different types of people up there to give us opposing and similar viewpoints, so that's really good stuff. I'm really pleased with the direction the forums have been going. We also have a new image gallery that Chris, I still don't think, has embraced yet and started putting stuff up.
I don't think you ever gave me the setup. I don't know if I'm officially set up yet.
All right. Well,
we'll work
I've
on it.
already put up a bunch of stuff, and Chris will be putting up a bunch of stuff. It's a very easy tool. It looks very clean. It's very nice. All the DS Lite pictures that I've taken, all the shots that I've taken of the SuperCard and the Max Media Launcher, all that stuff, we're going to start cycling it into the image gallery. It'll probably end up on the forum first because that's where we talk day to day, and then it'll get cycled into the image gallery, and that way we kind of have a permanent record of all the graphics and pictures that we've used.
Yeah, it's like a virtual scrapbook, more or less.
It's really cool. It's very fun to play with. You'll need to have, I think, Flash 7, I think, is the only plugin you need, so
very
Linux
cool
folks
stuff.
don't have any problems. Mac folks. It's very neat. It's very cool. And like I said, Chris has access to it. That he can actually upload pictures himself. He has his own section. I've got my own section. We've got sections for consoles, section for games, all that sort of thing. So that's pretty cool. That's a neat thing.
Yeah, I can't wait to start. I'm going to put some pictures up there. Everything like, the pictures I took of my case and the packaging. I know
Exactly. That's what I was hoping you'd throw up there.
Yeah, I'm going to put them up there, and I figure I'll throw up a few oddball pictures. Some new ones that I'll take and whatnot. And
very cool.
Just some random stuff that I think is associated to what we enjoy doing, and that's talking about or discussing the DS Lite, playing and stuff.
Absolutely. One of the other things we're working on for the website too is we've been approached by, I think it's myfriendcodes.com. We've actually been referenced to these guys a couple of times by our listeners, wondering if we have any ties with them or we plan on working with them at all. They're kind of an established, kind of a chat system. Basically, they're a lobby system for DS online gaming. And recently they contacted me asking if we would like to be involved somehow with them. They really like our show, and they'd like to know if we could do it like a banner exchange or something where we could kind of recommend each other because we don't step on each other's toes. But we were trying to work on our own friend code system. And I still think that there'll be something that we can do within Dual Screen Radio that can actually be affiliated with them and actually work interoperatively.
Yeah.
It's going to take a little bit of work between us. But, for example, instead of going to myfriendcodes.com...
It's actually, I want to correct you there, it's actually friendcodes.com.
Okay, it's friendcodes.com.
Yes.
I guess my notes were actually accurate for a change. So don't go to myfriendcodes and think that's what we're talking about. It's friendcodes.com.
You don't want to get to my friend codes and
find out it's a porn site.
A gay porn site or
something.
Yeah,
great. I could
Good
totally
job.
see that. Just as a totally off the subject, and this is a clean show, but have you ever heard of like America's Best Glasses?
Yes.
Where they make glasses in about an hour, and their website is 2pair.com because you get 2 pairs for $50.
Is that the commercial where you have like the legs on the glasses and they're dancing and stuff?
Yeah. That's the one. I know. This is just, there's actually a reason why I'm bringing this up. Their website is twopair.com. Well, my wife thought she would go up and see what kind of frames that they had, so she typed in twopairs.com. And let me tell you what, that is not the American Glasses Society that you go to if you go to twopairs.com. And if you're listening to this show at work, don't go to twopairs.com while you're at work. The moral police will be after you. And don't do it like in front of your wife or your kids. If you're really curious what that is, then go take a look. But just don't do it where anyone else is looking. So, anyway, friendcodes.com. Isn't that great how we can totally segue into basically porn sites from talking about DS online gameplay? Only on this show.
Thanks for the suggestion. I'm adding that to my bookmarks as we speak.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm glad I could help support your pervertedness. But anyway, so friendcodes.com, their developer contacted me and said, hey,
Yes.
you know, is there some way we could do some affiliation? I said, well, you know, we both have closed databases. We use a similar database structure. We both use vBulletin as our back end, blah, blah, blah. So we started talking about it, and I started thinking, you know, if we could exchange information between us, that would make an affiliation make a total sense. Because then you could go to friendcodes.com and log in with your dual screen radio login and password.
Yeah, that'd be
You'd
cool.
never have to sign up at friendcodes.com. Likewise, they could come to Dual Screen Radio and get their own DS game list and everything else without ever having to register on our side.
Yeah, like one big unified unit.
Yeah, sort of like Passport, only not ran by Microsoft.
Which is always
so,
good.
Yeah, so we're talking about, we're working on that. The developer had to go on vacation for like a month. I wish I'd go on vacation for a month. But once he gets back, we're going to try to see exactly how good of integration that we can get. And that's why I'm kind of putting all of our friend code matchmaking thing on hold until I can see what they've got going on. So a lot of people are like, well, you know, what's the status of doing the friend locator? Most of the people that hit our show for the first time and hit our site for the first time, the first thing they write is, well, you know, you guys should have a, you know, buddy system hookup thing.
Yeah.
And we're working on it. Give us a
Or
little
like
bit
a
of time.
frapper thing, you know,
Yeah,
where we can locate where we are. And
we are totally working on it. Trust me, it's going to be cool once we get that in there.
yeah, and once again, that is friendcodes.com.
There you go.
That way everybody can check it out, and you know, hey, if you want, yeah,
Check it out. Yeah.
See what
you
you
know,
think.
we're not official yet.
It's a nice site though. It's still pretty
It's
cool.
very
I mean,
clean. They've got like a Win32 download that you basically can open up. It's fairly decent. It's almost, what's really funny is they did it as a Win32 app because their developer didn't think it was possible to do on a web page. Well, essentially most of the functionality they have, I've already done on Dual Screen Radio. When you go to when you go and you try to find a game, you know, you click on, you know, Lost Magic, Find Friends, and it brings that up. It's very similar to what they're doing, only ours works on a website and theirs requires a download, a .NET download, which keeps, you know, Linux people and Mac people and stuff like that from playing it. So I'm hoping that we can exchange some technologies, work each other's databases a little bit, and come up with a way that we can do a good cross-promotion, because I don't want to specialize in it. I'd rather let somebody else do it. But at the same time, I don't want to inconvenience you, our listener, by having 5 logins and
yeah,
blah,
I
blah,
agree with
blah.
that.
I don't
mean,
want you to have to
you don't
enter
want
all of your
confuse
friend
people.
codes on one side and the other. We've got to have a way of exchanging data. And so
Centralizing.
Centralized. Good stuff. Also, let's see what else we got. A lot of people are talking about us putting in more Japanese and European titles because they'd like to be able to add it to their collection. And we kind of stated from the beginning that it was kind of a U.S.-only site, and we were going to handle some Japanese English-friendly imports. We have a lot of people that seem to be real interested in being allowed to catalog, you know, Japanese games that are not mainstream, that are not English-friendly, European games that have English equivalents, but they're technically different games.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing because, you know, I can understand, you know, these people, obviously they want to build their lists or they love the database, you know, so why not give them the ability to complete their collection with this database and to add the games that they do have. And I think I kind of got started because I had the Puzzle Bobble DS that I had imported, and I wasn't able to put that on the database. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, you know, this kind of stinks because it's going to be a half-assed list now. You know, I'm not going to have all my games on there. Right. So that's why I have, and it's now sticky, you know, I have that thread in there. If anybody, I mean, we've kind of already gone over it, but for the new people that, you know, we've gotten a lot of, more of an influx of people involved now in the forum. Anybody out there that has a game that they feel that should legitimately be added to the database, feel free to add it to that thread. You'll see it. It's sticky. It's in the DSR main thread. Just pop it in there. It provides as much information you can about the game. That's always helpful, because then we can give a more accurate listing. If we don't know what the game's about, you can at least help us out maybe, and we'll get that up there with a decent screenshot or box art and some links if possible to Play Asia or Lixang, and
we'll try to help you out.
Yeah, I mean, especially the European stuff is a little strange though, because most of the games they get there are the same as the U.S. releases. They just, I think the only one so far that I'm thinking of, or there's two of them. The UK has gotten Billard Action, okay,
yeah,
and they've got James Pond for the DS. And those are two games that
I think Animaniacs they have too.
Oh, really? That did come out then. Okay.
Yeah, it did come out there. I don't think it came out here.
Well, there's three of them. So I mean, that's a different case, But if you're talking, putting up the new Super Mario Brothers, the Japanese one, just because it's got a yellow box or whatnot, I mean, that probably won't happen. Okay. But if you're looking to have like something like Owendim, which we have on there, something that's mainstream or you feel is important enough to get on there, Bleach. Degasso, Band Brothers. So, things like that, if you feel should be on there, feel free to add it to that thread, and I'll make sure I try to get on there and do it myself. I think I've been pretty decent about it. Some guy suggested the Go game, the DS Go game, and I managed to get that up there. So, keep them coming, and we'll try to fill your needs as best we can. I don't want anybody left out there with half-assed member, collection lists, database listings. I mean, I
think that's real important for a community to have, and I'm willing to see what we can do to support that. And I've even talked about trying to work in a system where you can have user-added games. In other words, you'd be able to add the game to your list and vote on it, maybe. I haven't sat down and looked at the database considerations from a programming point of view, but basically when you send somebody your list or you pull your list up or whatever, the game that you wanted to add would be on there, even though you couldn't get like a full-blown database entry for it.
Right.
At least your list wouldn't be incomplete. So we've got a whole bunch of ideas we're kicking around for that. But rest assured that we're thinking about it. We hear your pleas, and we're gonna do something with it.
Yeah.
You just don't know what yet.
I just don't expect us to constantly be up to date on the latest Japanese or UK releases in terms of, okay, this is coming out in Japan this week. Well, you're not going to see it on there. But if it's something specific that you have in your collection that you want to add on there for the whole thought of making sure it's part of your database collection, that's a different story. I mean, we don't want any holes in your collection. I know I didn't. So.
Yeah. I totally understand that.
I feel we should probably express that to other people. I mean, if I can put my Puzzle Bob up there or my Owendim copy, everybody else should be able to put up, whatever. James Pond, their UK James Pond release, for instance. So,
absolutely. Well, finally, the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about from a site perspective is we get a lot of email, and I swear that we talk about this like every show, but apparently not. It's so funny. We get these emails that are basically come out as like two sentences. I just bought a DS Lite. What game should I get? And that's it. That's the whole email.
We must have gotten
I can pull one of those up because we just had one of those.
I think we got at least 10 of them.
I think we had 10 of those between the last two shows, or posted on the forum. Got a DS Lite. Love it. What game do I get? And it's like, well, that's just not enough information, folks. Imagine going to a car dealer to shop for a car and say, hey, what car should I get? Now, if you have a really sleazy salesman, he'll take you to the most expensive car on the lot. But if he's got a good salesman, he's going to say, well, what are you looking for? Well, I want AC, automatic, four-door. You've got criteria when you buy a car.
Right.
Everybody has criteria when they buy a game. If you don't like Tetris, if you don't like puzzlers, I can't recommend you Tetris, even though it's one of the better games on the DS.
It's a real personal experience,
It's a personal thing. So, tell you what, I don't have any problems, because here's what I'm going to do. Anybody who writes that in, I'm going to hit reply. I'm going to post a canned response that says, thank you for writing. Please check out our top 25 list on dualscreenradio.com. That's what you're going to get. And that doesn't help you because there's 25 games on that list. You're looking for like 1 or 2 games. If you really want us to help you out, and we will, trust me, there's tons of people on the forums that are bending over backwards to help you out. When you ask us what game you should buy, do us a favor and tell us what you like. I'm real into, platformers. I'm real into shoot 'em ups. I'm real into, first-person shooters. I'm real into puzzle games. Give us a direction to go, and we'll give you the top 1 or 2, 3 games of that genre or what you might be looking for.
Throw us a bone.
Throw us a bone. Help us help you.
Yeah, I mean,
this has been a public service announcement from DualScreenRadio.com and your phone company.
If you can't put forth the effort to write more than like a 5-letter or 5-word email, then you're not going to get much of a response out of us in terms of hey guys, what good game should I get? That's not going to get much out of us.
Yeah.
You got to explain and indulge a little bit with us on what you're looking for. Then maybe we can kind of point you in the direction. And that's not to say you're going to necessarily like those games, but we can at least say, here, why don't you check them out?
Educated guess, at least.
Exactly. Yes.
So anyway, I wanted to comment on that because for some reason we just keep getting tons of them, and we've talked about it on the forum. But again, I know far too many people do not go to the forum or the website, so they're missing out on this.
Yeah.
Wow, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think that wraps it up pretty much.
So
another pretty big show, I guess.
Yeah, it turned out to be a lot bigger than I think we originally planned.
So I guess we're going to upset a lot of people who are complaining about the length.
It's so funny, but a lot of people come back and say, no, I'm one of the guys that complain about the length, but it's okay. Backpedaling. That's okay. I mean, it's okay to disagree with us.
That's fine.
We are certainly not the be-all, end-all, know-all of existence over here. We make plenty of mistakes, especially when pronouncing Japanese titles. Yes. Yeah, great. We just pissed somebody off doing that. Anyway. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up this episode of Retro... I did it. I was going to say Retro Gaming Radio. I just recorded Retro Gaming Radio stuff.
How about if I do it this time?
You know what?
I guess that wraps up another episode of Dual Screen Radio.
Look at that. When you say dual, it's got that Philly accent to it.
Well, that's
Your
funny,
wife's got that, too.
I'm not from Philly, so I can't explain it.
I don't know where you... maybe it's not Philly, but... Your wife's got it, too, when she did the intro. By the way,
yeah? Really?
That's the other top 10 question we get.
Yeah.
Whose voice is on the intro, which is funny because it's like, if I gave you a name, would you know who it was?
No.
Isn't that funny? It's like when you see an actor on TV. Like, hey, who is that? Well, that's Bridget Fonda. Oh, yeah, Bridget Fonda. So if you actually wrote in and said, hey, who does the voice to the intro on Dual Screen Radio? And I say, well, that's Kathy Henschel. Does that mean anything to you? I'm just curious.
No.
No. Does that make sense? Is that a understandable question?
There just seems to be a lot of curious people out there.
I mean, I don't know. I just thought that was really funny. It's like, so if I give you the name, is that good for you or what?
Who did that MasterCard ad? I like the sound of that.
I like the sound of that.
I didn't like the sound of that MasterCard ad. Yeah.
Anyway, please, by all means, close the show, Chris, before we segue for another 20 minutes on absolutely nothing.
Yes. Well, considering that's the end of the episode, I would like to thank everybody for joining us here at Dual Screen Radio.
Thank you very much.
This is Chris Angel.
And this is Shane R. Monroe.
And listening is definitely good.
Listening is good. Take care, folks.
Bye-bye.